We're getting some technical things taken care of here.
Do we know who sent the confirmation or no?
Yeah, you got that one.
Who's getting them?
Oh,
You'll know. Would you mind if I take it? One of my cousins and one of my husband's dying.
yeah. Okay, it looks like everyone's here. Mr. City Attorney, you're getting ready there? I'm here, I'm ready. I just don't want to start without you being ready. So. Ready to rock and roll. Okay, so, all right. I know. Give me a second here. For those of you that are out here in the audience, I do everything off of here. I'm your quintessential tree hugger, so I don't get an agenda packet that big. So I save a tree every time we have a meeting by doing this. Okay, so, all right, so here we go. It is now 5:33, and I'm calling this meeting to order. Madam City Clerk,
Mayor Hurtado,
present.
Vice Mayor Davila,
Present.
Councilmember Avalos,
Present.
Councilmember Barron,
Present.
Councilmember Rios,
Present.
City Treasurer De La Paz,
Present.
City Manager Houston,
Present.
City Attorney Salinas.
Present.
Meeting compensation disclosure pursuant to Government Code Section 54952.3, disclosure of compensation for meeting attendance by City Council members is $790 monthly, regardless of the amount of meetings.
Okay, let's start off with the open session. We have item number 1.
The City Council will issue a proclamation declaring March 3rd, 2024 as Key Club and Southgate Day.
Great, and I'm going to look over to my left, your right, to my colleague Joshua Barone to please do the honors.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Declaring Key Club in Southgate Day, March 3rd, 2024. Whereas the Southgate High School Key Club, which is sponsored by the Kiwanis Club of Southgate, will be celebrating 77th anniversary with a charter date of March 3rd, 1947, and is the oldest high school serving organization in Southgate. Whereas the Kiwanis Club of Southgate is also sponsoring the King Drew Magnet High School Key Club, Legacy High School Key Club, Southeast High School Key Club, and Bell High School Key Club. Whereas Key Club alumni, including past Southgate mayors, council members, doctors, attorneys, philanthropists, educators, and service leaders who have dedicated their time to creating a positive impact on the community. Whereas each member selflessly contributes their time, talent, treasures to their community and school each year. Whereas the Key Club International has over 250 high school students dedicated to serve with purpose the children of the world, as well as their homes, schools, and community, giving primacy to human and spiritual rather than the material values of life. Whereas the Key Club promotes the development of student leaders, positive role models, intellectual understanding, and cooperation and opportunities for fellowship, personal growth, and professional development. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed on the 27th day of February 2024 that I, Gil Hurtado, Mayor of the City of Southgate, on behalf of the City Council and residents, do hereby proclaim March 3rd, 2024 as Key Club of Southgate Day, and hereby call upon all citizens of Southgate to render encouragement and support to the members of the organization and to recognize the good work and altruistic. Sorry, guys, I can't say that word right now.
He's trying to get through. He can read, by the way. He's just having a difficult time. He was telling us about his throat issues, so he's trying to suffer through it.
Service for these 5 key clubs. Signed, Gil Hurtado, Mayor.
And receiving this will be Hale Soto and Key Club members. So Here you go. Yes, the mic is yours, and take it away.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, city staff, city clerk, city treasurer. It's an honor. Thank you for acknowledging our key clubs. Again, my name is Jaile Soto with the Southgate Kiwanis Club. I'm the club president, and I also have club members sitting behind me, as well as some of our sponsored youth from some of our key club. And again, it's a great honor for us to receive this proclamation on behalf of the Key Clubbers, because I feel Key Club is a big instrumental organization that develops leaders. I'll actually have each of our Key Clubbers introduce themselves and talk a little about Key Club. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Excuse me. My name is Amanda Salcedo, and I currently serve Southeast Key Club as their 2023 to 2024 Key Club president. So Key Club, I came about Key Club from a flyer around my locker, and I had no idea what it was. All I saw was that it looked really good in college, and I was able to get my required community hours for that year. And I saw as the school year went on, Key Club did have leadership roles, and I decided to go for it as a freshman. As a freshman, I started, I went ahead and went for elections for vice president. I didn't end up getting it, but that next Key Club term, I went ahead and went for president, which is where I am now. And at the ending of my freshman year, I ended up with 52 community service hours. So Key Club to me really changed the course of my life, and it changed a lot of how I look at things. And I was able to meet a lot of people. I was able to be a part of my community more, because I had no idea how many events were going on in the city of Southgate. The only thing I really knew about before Key Club was the Christmas parade that happened yearly. I really thank Key Club, and I really thank you guys for declaring March 3rd Key Club and Southgate Day for that reason, that it's helped me in my life, and it's really shown me a lot about myself and my school and my community and the world. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aaliyah Martinez, and I'm currently the president for Southgate High School Key Club. This is my third year in Key Club. It was my first biggest commitment when I entered high school. I joined my freshman year, and throughout my term, I've been able to serve multiple leadership roles and board positions, and I've been able to grow in my journey of Key Club. And it means a lot for the city to recognize March 3rd as Key Club Day, because it acknowledges all the community work that we hope to bring about to other youth, and encourage others to join this amazing club that encourages community involvement and leadership and volunteerism, which I think is a really important skill to have, especially when you go on to other in future careers. So Key Club for me has definitely been a very important part in my journey, especially in high school, going into my senior year, and being able to have, like Amanda said, all these community service hours and all these meaningful partnerships with our Kiwanis and different leaders of the community. And we see I've learned community doesn't have to always be just people that you're in within your school, but it's also it reaches out to different community members and different people from different walks of life that all have something that they can teach you, something that is very valuable that they learned in their Key Club years. So having Mondo and Hylas and Daisy and Luz as all these impactful people in my life, it has definitely helped me recognize my own worth in my community and really grow my leadership skills within my journey of Key Club. So it means a lot to have the city recognize Key Club for the amazing club that it is. But yeah, thank you all so much for the opportunity to speak here, and hope to see you more in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Tiara Cabrera. I am South Key Club's 2023 to 2024 Vice President, and I'm also Division 13 West 2023 to 2024 Executive Assistant. And Key Club has really been like very meaningful in my life. Like looking back now, like I'm a senior right now. Looking back at like the beginning of high school, I was very shy. I was very timid. I didn't really have a lot of like experience being involved with my community or being like just a leader in general. But then once I got into Key Club, I saw how like everyone sort of like comes together, such as like in the Kiwanis cleanups. I noticed how like so many people of different age groups and backgrounds and whatnot, they all come together for that common purpose of serving our community and making the world a better place. So I think just like seeing that was like really inspiring, and it inspired me to become involved myself and to push myself out of my comfort zone, take on those like leadership roles and positions, not only in Key Club, but like in other organizations in general. And I think that it's been very vital in making me the person I am today. I've become very much more outspoken, more out of my shell, but also I've made an impact on my community in many different ways. And I think it's been the same for a lot of people, such as you've heard from the other two speakers. So I am very happy that Southgate, the city of Southgate, is recognizing that by giving us our own day. So I would just like to say thank you for the honor, and I'm really happy that you guys decided to do this. Thank you.
Josh, I'll just say one more word before we go on to photos. I just wanted to thank the Kiwanis leadership. I mean, the amount of work that you guys have done with the kids is just amazing. My kids are part of Key Club, and just going out there with them on cleanups and other events. I know when Armando had first reached out to me to join Kiwanis, like I don't know, I don't know. But as I went out there in the community with the kids and really saw how you guys are mentoring those children, that's what led me to join Kiwanis as well. So, congratulations and keep up the amazing work with the children.
I can raise it.
You see that now? Is that better?
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, and thank you, folks, for coming out. Yes, people from Kiwanis, you guys do an amazing job. How long have you guys been together now, the Kiwanis, here in Southgate, since you came back? 3 years, 4 years? Well, okay. All right. Well, congratulations again. You guys are doing an amazing job. I'm glad you brought that back. I mean, we have other clubs here, but you guys have been extremely active, which is great. And the community needs people like that all the time. No, you come to the mic. Come to the mic. We don't allow yelling here. It makes us feel like we're at home. Is it on?
Armando Velasquez, Independence Avenue. Thank you very much for having us here. But we also have individuals who are alumni from previous years, from the 90s, some from the 2000s up on Zoom. Wow. I was hoping that they'd be allowed to maybe say a few words from their experience in Key Club dating all the way back to the 90s.
I'm kidding. Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Did I fool you on that one? Okay, so who's the person on Zoom? We'll go to the Zoom person first.
If we can have that person raise their hand.
Yeah, raise your hand. Zoom person.
Ivan? Is it Ivan?
What's the name of the person so we can call him by name? Yvonne?
I'm sorry.
Yvonne. Calling on Yvonne.
Yvonne?
Maybe Yvonne doesn't want to speak.
How about the ones that are here?
Yeah, who's, okay, so we tried Yvonne. Okay, person who's here?
Good evening. Hi, my name is Chrisanny Van Overbeck, and I used to live in Southgate all my life when I was a child. When I joined Key Club in 1988, I was 14 years old, and it made a big impact on my life, being part of the community and giving, and not just taking. To be part of helping different age groups, whether it was in the hospitals, the geriatric hospitals, children's hospitals, everywhere. Like even doing the really fun stuff like decorating the floats for the Rose Parade, you know, cleaning up the trash around town or painting over graffiti, art everywhere. Even helping out at the football games, volunteering and keeping score and all that stuff. So it was just, we were just always a part of so many different things, so many different aspects of the city, of the different youth and the adults. And I'm very, very proud to be part of Southgate and be part of Key Club. And one day, who knows, maybe I'll be a Kiwanian. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll give you, Yvonne, one more try. Yvonne, are you there?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
We can now, yes.
Oh, yes?
Rock on, you're on.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Yvonne Soto. I was in Key Club, and I was president for 2 years back in 2002, 2003. And I've learned a lot from Key Club. Besides the leadership skills, I was also able to make good friendships and also networking. It's very important. Besides, it looked well and so good on my application for college. I went off to UCLA, but also the friendships that I made in those years are friends that I still have right now. So I really enjoy all the services that we were able to do. And besides that, it also sort of made like our own separate family as well. And so I'm really grateful on all the opportunities that we got a chance to give back to the community. And now as an adult, that's what I'm planning to like teach my kids as well, just to stay kind of connected with the community and, you know, build our own families. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And once again, thank you all for your commitment and your assistance here. It's very much appreciated by everyone. Okay, item number 2.
City Council will issue a proclamation declaring the month of March 2024 as American Red Cross Month.
And for this one, we have my colleague, again to my left, Councilmember El Rios.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, once again, congratulations to all the Kiwanians and the Key Club. And why don't you stand up real quick so we can acknowledge all of the work you've been doing. You're a very, very active club. Kiwanians and the Key Club, thank you for the good, for being partners here with the city and doing all the good work in the community. Thank you. I have the next proclamation. One of a fine organization that does a lot of good work in emergencies, the American Red Cross Month. I want to declare, actually the mayor is declaring American Red Cross Month, March 2024. Whereas Carissa Hollow Barton, known as Clara, is one of the most honored women in American history who risked her life to bring supplies and support to soldiers in the field during the Civil War and is credited with founding the American Red Cross in 1881 at the age of 59 and led it for the next 23 years. Whereas the American Red Cross Awareness Month is the tradition which began 80 years ago when President Franklin D. Roosevelt issued the first National Red Cross Month proclamation, and is a tradition each American president has followed ever since. Whereas American Red Cross Month is a month-long observance recognizing the American Red Cross as a true reflection of humanitarian and volunteer spirit. Whereas since 1917, the American Red Cross has served the Greater Long Beach chapter and Rio Hondo and South Bay areas, providing disaster relief and assistance to families by providing shelter, food, emotional support, and other necessities. Whereas since 1941, the American Red Cross has provided life-saving blood supplies for patients in need, and there is currently a blood shortage with the lowest number of people giving blood in the last 20 years. Whereas the American Red Cross provides family support to active duty members of the military and reconnects families with worldwide that has been separated by war or armed conflict. And whereas the American Red Cross trains individuals in CPR, first aid, aquatics, babysitting, and water safety courses. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on this 27th day of February that I, Gil Hurtado, Mayor of the City of Southgate, on behalf of the City Council and residents of Dubai, proclaim March 2024 as American Red Cross Month and encourage residents to prepare for emergencies and support the missions of the American Red Cross by noting funds, blood, and/or time. Gil Hurtado, Mayor.
Yeah, and there's actually nobody here. Maybe the chief can receive this one for now. So here you go. And I don't know if you want to say, I know that you've worked with, well, the POA has done some blood drives in the past. I don't know when the last time was, but I can tell you I've been donating blood since I was about 18, and I'm old. So it's been quite a while. The last time I gave was 2015, but it is important to donate blood. The need is out there. So, Chief?
Yeah, in fact, the police officers in the years past, done a blood drive with a member of the LA County Sheriff's Department, Joe Carrillo, who was a partner of Sergeant Juan Rodriguez. He lost his son to cancer, so annually they'll get together and host a blood drive. And every time you go down there to talk to the people at the American Red Cross, they're always looking to have blood drives just because of the shortage. So if you're able and willing body to donate, those bags of blood does save lives. So please consider donating blood in the future.
Absolutely. Okay, item number 3.
The City Council will issue a proclamation declaring the month of March 2024 as Women's History Month.
And this one will be by the Vice Mayor, Maria Davila.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Proclamation declaring Women's History Month, March 2024. Whereas in 1987, Congress established Women's History Month to celebrate the contribution American women have made to strengthen and lead the nation since its inception. Whereas Women's History Month encourage everyone to recognize the unsung, underrepresented roles of women have played in the formation of our country, both in past and present. Whereas the Women's History Month honors women in every race, status, ethnicity who have challenge the status quo. Whereas Women History Month shines a light on women who made incredible sacrifices and displayed extraordinary courage and tenacity to procure equality, labor, and social opportunities to future generations. Whereas American women have been leaders not only in secure their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but had also been at the forefront of every movement supporting change for the advancement of the citizens of the United States of America. And whereas whether working inside the home or outside in academia, science, technology, business, labor, governance, and more women played critical roles in every sphere of society. Now there be proclaimed on this 27th day of February 2024 that I, Gil Hurtado, Mayor of the City of Southgate, on behalf of the City Council and residents, do hereby declare March 2024 as Women History Month and recognize the important contribution made by women to our community and the world. Sign the mayor.
And you're going to be taking that?
I will be taking this proclamation to the Women's Conference, which we'll be having in March. So, but for now, for the picture, I'm going to ask every single woman who is here in this chamber to please come up because we're going to take a picture.
Can the guys join you guys?
Absolutely.
Just asking, I don't want to.
Absolutely. And I mean every woman who is here. So, come on.
Put your cameras there if you want.
We'll do a photo bomb. Yeah, come back here so that we're going to photo bomb it from back here. Yes, we're going to get started. We're going to stand up back here.
They left us behind.
That's bad.
That's all right.
Great job. Great job. And, you know, while everybody's taking their seat, I just have to say I can tell you that recently I had gone back to college, graduated in 2019, and I saw in a lot of the classes more women than men. And to me, it just seems so normal because, you know, I believe that women should have the opportunities as men do. I didn't even notice. And in fact, one day we were taking like pictures and stuff, and I got home and my wife said, "Are you taking these classes on purpose because you're the only guy in that classroom?" I hadn't even noticed until she brought it to my attention because it did seem so normal. I coach girls softball at the high school, and my message to them is very simple. that you should have the same opportunities as men. Never, ever feel that you are less capable in anything. And I think that, you know, this council does support a lot of the women's programs. We support a lot of the programs that I know Maria Davila is involved, the women's clubs and multicultural women's clubs. And but it's the whole community. I think we embrace it. The leadership of Kiwanis, when the females, again, it seems so normal. Many decades ago, that wouldn't be something. There was a time you had, what, at least 3 female councilwomen here. And again, to some people, it was like an oddity. And to us, it was, no, they're just as capable. So again, I'm glad that we're recognizing that tonight. So there were 4 at one time? Yeah. This was the only. In any case, well, thank you once again. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, just doing a time check here. I know we have closed session in the city council regular meeting, and so looking for guidance here on that.
Okay, we have one more item, the lymphedema one, and then we'll go. Okay, here we go. Item number 4.
The City Council will issue a proclamation declaring March 6, 2024 as World Lymphedema Day. Mayor?
Yes, and this one's going to be taken over by my colleague to my right, Maria del Pilar Avalos.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And again, as a previous Key Club member, Kiwanis, good job. I was sworn in by a Kiwanzi, so I look forward and hopefully joining your organization soon. So with that, we're declaring World Lymphedema Day, March 6, 2024. Whereas in 2016, the United States Senate declared war on Lymphedema Day on March 6, and since then, it has been recognized worldwide. Whereas lymphedema is a long-term chronic condition that causes swelling of the body, its tissues, and can affect any part of the body, but usually develops in the arms or legs. It develops when the lymphatic system does not work properly, whereas lymphedema is a rare disease affecting 1 in 100,000 individuals. And secondly, lymphedema is the most common cause of the disease and affects approximately 1 in 1,000 Americans, whereas cancer survivors are most susceptible to this condition. Up to 30% of women, again, talking about women, who survive breast cancer will get this debilitating disease, as well as prostate and ovarian cancer patients. Whereas veterans most commonly suffer from lymphedema because of the battle injury or trauma from surgery. In some cases, even children can be born with this disease. And whereas although there is no cure for lymphedema, there are new treatments developing, and research continues to find a cure for this disease. So now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that on this 27th day of February 2024, that Mr. Gil Hurtado, Mayor for the City of Southgate, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby declare March 6, 2024 as World Lymphedema Day, and encourage citizens to be aware of this disease and to support those who are living with this debilitating disease. And I will be taking this proclamation to an individual that's near and dear that unfortunately is dealing with this illness. So I do appreciate that from the council as well as the community. And let's not forget those that are suffering, not just of lymphedema, but of any types of cancer. Because unfortunately, the area that we are in, a lot of our residents are dealing with different kinds of cancers at different levels. So if you could be a kind heart and, you know, spread a little bit of love and kindness, please do so. Thank you.
Thank you for reading that. And I guess at this point, I mean, we've taken enough pictures, right? If you guys want more? No, let's just move on. So let's go to item number
The
5.
City Council will consider receiving and filing the list of new and promoted full-time employees hired or promoted during January 2024.
Okay, who's got this? John?
Yeah, good evening, City Council. Tonight we have 3 new and promoted employees introduced to you from 3 different departments. So without further ado, I will pass the mic over to
Thank you. Oops.
Yodi Glaze, our city clerk.
Thank you. Council, it is my pleasure to introduce to you from my office, Miss Evelyn Mejia. She has been working with the City of Southgate since May of 2023 as an hourly City Hall receptionist. She's been providing exceptional customer service to everyone coming into City Hall. She was promoted competitively to full-time City Hall receptionist in January 2024. Evelyn has a bachelor's degree in liberal studies from San Francisco State University. She began her career in teaching elementary school children, and in the process, she geared towards the administration aspect of her job, which led her to where she is today. Evelyn is a great example of somebody who is working with our city to progress her career by taking the necessary steps in doing so. We're very blessed and lucky to have her. She is a pleasure to work with and is a great addition to our team. On her spare time, she loves to go to Disneyland, attend music festivals, and most importantly, spend time with her family, to include her 2-year-old Ellie. During my time with her, she has been extremely helpful, charismatic, kind, and always willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. Evelyn, we thank you for your work, and we welcome you to the Southgate family.
Sorry. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm very grateful, and I look forward to serving the city of Southgate. Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Okay, it looks like Parks and Rec, you're up.
Yes. Good evening, Council. I'm here to present Solomon Lopez. He was hired as a recreation specialist for the Parks and Recreation Department in November of 2021. He was first tasked to oversee all of the front counter staff, operations, memberships, and to streamline the process for efficiency. He succeeded with flying colors. Solomon also had the great challenge of learning multiple registration software systems at the same time, as he was hired during the transitional period of switching from the E-Track to Civic Rec registrations. Needless to say, he was instrumental in implementation to the public. Solomon was then asked to step in to the role of acting customer service representative for the transit division in July of 2022. He humbly accepted the role without any prior transit experience and was tasked with completing the annual NDT reports, gate, metro programs, compliance verifications, performing audits, creating and processing invoices, and daily transactions. He persevered through the adversity and truly demonstrated a willingness to learn, which was evident in his outstanding results. Solomon was then promoted to his current role of Youth and Adult Sports Coordinator last month, where he will oversee all youth sports classes, adult sport leagues, and field reservations. He is a true throwback to recreation, as he has performed many roles in youth sports, special events, and recreation programming. Solomon comes to Southgate by way of Carson, Santa Monica, Signal Hill, and West Hollywood. He is a real asset to the department, and we welcome Solomon Lopez to the Southgate family.
Great. He didn't come with you, did you?
I'm sorry, he couldn't make, he's at a training seminar.
Okay, well, still, welcome to Solomon Lopez. Okay. Next one is with our Public Works Department.
Yes,
Arturo
Mayor and
Cervantes.
council members, I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Julio Godoy. Julio began employment with the city in January of 2024. He was hired as an electrician 1, where he will be helping the electrical division on very important duties like maintaining street lights or traffic signals and what have you. Julio has 3 years of professional experience in electrical installation and repair. And on his free time, he enjoys playing volleyball, hiking, and skating. Please help me welcome Mr. Julio Godoy. Thank you. And I don't think he's here today.
Okay, well, welcome to all the staff and congratulations to those that got promoted. Okay, So now we're going to, next one, closed session.
Conference with legal counsel pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9A, 54954.9B3C, Manuel Talavera versus City of Southgate. Item number 2, conference with legal counsel, threatened litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B3D and E, 1, potential case. Item number 3, conference with labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, agency representative Rob Houston, city manager, unrepresented employees, top management department directors, hourly employees. Employee organizations, SGMEA, SGPMMA, SGDMA, SGPMA, and SGPOA. Mayor?
Thank you. Any additional comments?
Nothing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, let me open this up to the Zoom audience first, see if anybody wants to make a comment on these items.
I see none.
Seeing no one, I'm going to close the Zoom portion. Anybody here in the audience wants to discuss anything on these items? Okay, seeing no one, I'm going to close that portion. So we're going to now go into closed session, and we will be back.
Recording stopped.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Wendy in a while. I sent you some information through Rob. I hope you got it. Okay. And we're coming back from closed session momentarily. That's okay. I've been hit before. Hi, Glenn. Good. Is the rain causing a lot of problems for you at the park right now? Is the rain causing a lot of problems for you at the park right now? I thought so, yeah. Okay, we are back now. Mr. City Attorney, you can make a report back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In closed session, the city considered one case of pending litigation entitled Manuel Talavera Gonzalez versus City of Southgate. This was a accident involving one of the city buses that was driven by a city contractor. The city in closed session accepted the approval of a law firm that would be paid by the insurance company for the contractor to represent the city in that action. The motion was made by Councilmember Rios and was seconded by Vice Mayor Davila, and the vote there was 5-0 to approve the retention of the law firm. Item number 2, conference with legal counsel, threatened litigation. The city council received a presentation by the city attorney regarding a potential case of litigation against the city. City agreed to enter into a tolling agreement to continue to stay that litigation. This is an agreement that has been executed previously by the city and required an extension of time. The motion to approve the agreement was made by Vice Mayor Davila. It was seconded by Councilmember Rios, and the vote there was 5-0. The council also met and had a conference with the labor negotiator. In this case, the labor negotiator is our city manager, Rob Houston. There was a conference involving each of the identified employee organizations listed on the agenda. The presentation was made, guidance was given, but there was no reportable action taken in closed session. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. That completes my report.
Okay, so I'm going to open it up to the audience to speak on these items. Let's go to the Zoom people first.
We have Mr. Mario Dominguez.
Okay, Mr. Salinas, you're going to have to explain this to me like as if I was a 10-year-old. So let me understand here with this Manuel Talavera Gonzalez case. So this guy was hit by what, the gate, the little blue van? Is that what happened here? If you could just clarify if that's what happened. And then with this pending threatened litigation, okay, so what does this entail? I mean, does this have to do with NR development again? Are we going to go through, hop on that merry-go-round with these motherfuckers? I mean, what's going on here with this threatened litigation? If you could clarify as to what that's about, I'd appreciate it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next speaker.
We have no other.
Okay, I'm going to close the Zoom portion. Anybody here in the audience wishes to speak on these items, please step forward. Okay, see no one step forward, I'm going to close the audience portion. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion, a second, and there's no opposition. Let me know when you're ready for the regular meeting.
Thank you. Ready. I'm ready.
You ready? Okay, and first, my apologies for the delay. Sometimes we have meetings that take a little bit longer, but it's part of doing business. And again, my apologies to those on Zoom that have been waiting for the 6:30 meeting. So I'm going to call this meeting to order. It is now 6:51, and we're going to have the invocation from Pastor Marta Moscoso from Faith and Hope Lutheran Church, and then followed by Evelyn Mejia, City Hall receptionist, to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand.
Good evening, council members.
Let us pray. God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Lord, we pray for this council meeting tonight. Give them wisdom and guidance as they deliberate on the items before them. May every decision be righteous in your sight, for our benefit and for your glory. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before you announce the roll call, Maria, would you mind?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have the Spanish translation. Si hay personas que necesitan traducción en español, por favor mantengan su mano arriba y se les dará un audífono.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Hurtado,
Present.
Vice Mayor Davila,
Present.
Councilmember Avalos,
Present.
Councilmember Barron,
Present.
Councilmember Rios,
Present.
City Treasurer De La Paz,
Present.
City Manager Houston,
Present.
City Attorney Salinas.
Present.
Meeting compensation disclosure pursuant to Government Code Section 54952.3, disclosure of compensation for meeting attendance by city council members, $790 monthly regardless of the amount of meetings.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. At this time, we have no public hearing, so we're going to go to comments from the audience. At this time, members of the community can speak on anything that's not on the agenda. You have 3 minutes, and we're going to go to the Zoom audience first.
We have Mr. Mario Dominguez.
Okay, I'm not happy with our council members. I'm not happy with any one of you. You know, I had a meeting last week with a deputy of Janice Hans to pitch the 2 projects that I fell in love with on a website called lowerLARiver.org. And it was the Southern Avenue Connector, and the other one was Casella Bridge Park. And, you know, twice our council members have failed me in trying to blast these 2 projects and get them off the ground here. And, you know, I went in that meeting bare ass naked with nothing to offer these people. And the one thing that I asked for the council members was to submit an email and for it to be a letter of support and endorsement for these 2 projects. And you lazy ass motherfuckers couldn't even do this. You couldn't even do this. You know, you've had 2 years to decide whether or not you want to move forward with these 2 projects. Hell, you've had 2 years to decide whether or not you even like these 2 projects. Sean Kearns and I handed over these 2 projects on a platter to Southgate. And what did you do? Nothing. Not a goddamn thing to help move these 2 projects forward and getting them, getting the LA County Board of Supervisors to get them prioritized. Now, here's the thing. The one positive thing that I took out of this meeting, and this is the meeting I should have had in 2022. The one positive thing I took from this meeting is that the deputy I spoke with, she basically confirmed what I and the former project manager of the Cella Cultural Arts Center, Joseph Gonzalez, what we've suspected all along is that we have to wait till the Cella gets all the funding that it needs. And then once that's done, it's going to open up space to fund other projects. But for the council members to sit on their ass, to let this opportunity, this window to pass by them when they could have given their support and helped further, because one of the things that the deputy said to me was, this is what we want. We want to hear from the community. We want to hear from folks like you telling us the type of projects that you want to have us do. And this is what I've been stressing to you, nitwits, is that you are waiting for someone to hand over and deliver things to our city. It doesn't work that way. You have to fight. You have to push. You have to demand. And for you to just sit on your asses, twiddling your thumbs, that's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. I need generals. I need leaders. Instead, what do I have? Fucking foot soldiers. That's it. I'm done.
Thank you. Next speaker.
We have Mr. Thomas Buckley.
Hi, this is Thomas Buckley. I hope you'll forgive me. I'm under the weather this evening. Yodit, I just want to say thank you so much for the 5-minute interval updates while we're waiting for the regular meeting. It's very kind of you and thoughtful. Thank you so much. I guess on that same note, Yodit, if you would, is there any way that we could get minutes for the committees and commissions aside from the Housing Authority? If you look at the Granicus webpage, none of the others are listed there. The only thing that we have is Housing Authority and City Council. A resident reached out to me. I guess this would be attention, Chief Arakawa. A resident reached out to me regards to Otis and Independence, all the way to San Juan and Ardmore. There's apparently a lot of trash, cars parked, and grossly expired registrations on the plates. If that could be looked into, that'd be much appreciated. Thank you, sir. To Mayor Hurtado, last council meeting, you had stated that you're going to be either pushing for or you were in favor of ending these Zoom calls. I don't think that would do our community a service. I think it would be a disservice to our community. There are people, as you heard from your own mouths, that suffer from illnesses such as cancer, such as contagious diseases. Coincidentally, I have a cold. I have the common cold. Not much suffrage. Thank God that this is my burden, because there are people suffering through far worse than I am right now. But there are those that don't have access to council meetings. And it is the new norm in 2024 for a lot of people, how they work, how they communicate. And I think that if we were to remove Zoom meetings, that this would be a step backwards, a large step backwards. And I think it would only make further regression into the state that I've continuously called out this council on, the culture, which is moving away from transparency, moving away from openness. I see what's happened with the video proposals, the video audio proposals that we're supposed to have for the meetings. And I'm now hearing it the same way. Same people saying the same thing now about Zoom. So I'd ask you, council, to the other 4 members of council, to please not let that happen, so that all of us as a community can exercise our rights. Thank you.
Next speaker.
We have no other.
Okay, I'm going to close the Zoom portion. I'm going to open it up here to the audience, and see no one step forward. I'm going to close that portion of it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go into reports and comments. Let's start with staff, and if anything that you heard from the speakers applies to you, please feel free. So let me start this time with Meredith.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. We will post our approved minutes by end of day tomorrow. Nothing to report other than that. Thank you.
Okay, and I understand you did have a CAC meeting recently. And again, this goes also to the park, and again, back to you for the Planning Commission. If any of my commissioners, and I think it's important for the other other council members to know, if our commissioners are not showing up, if you guys can give us that information, send us an email so that we can find out, hey, are you still interested in staying on? If not, I can, replace you or whatever. But it's important that those meetings take place. And if my commissioners aren't going, I need to be able to speak with them, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Glenn, you're up. Oh, hang on. Yes?
Mr. Mayor, if I can, I have 2 public comments that sent to me via email.
Oh, okay, you know what?
I
Let's go to
apologize.
that first, because if it does apply to them, maybe they
Yes.
can respond to it. Okay.
Thank you. I received the first one from Ms. Michelle Martinez, a resident of Southgate, stating that she supports childcare businesses. She's writing to express her support for Upwards Childcare, and she feels there's a pressing need, for childcare for all families in our community, and believes quality of childcare providers should be an area of focus and efforts toward it because it's so important. She would love to see City Council prioritize childcare by working with Upwards. And then the second public comment is from Mrs. Linda Timmons, and she's a child care advocate here in Southgate. She feels that child care is a much needed service in our community. Parents are having a hard time paying for child care, and she hopes that you support Upwards and invest in some solutions for child care for the families of our community. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Were you able to send those to Meredith? I think both of those would apply. Maybe she can look into it and maybe report to us something. Okay. Thank you. Glenn, Parks and Rec.
I left in front of you all a flyer for the Azalea Festival that begins March 8th, and also has on the back the Easter Fest. Work has begun on replacement of the rubberized surfacing in the north playground this week. Fence project is ongoing. They're working on the tennis courts. They anticipate completion of that this week, and we'll move to the large quad, depending on rain. Voting has begun in the Sports Center, and that's all I have to report.
And real quick on that, I talked to Rob about this before. I know you're working really hard to try to maintain the playground areas and like the work on the fences. And sometimes there are outside factors that make those delays. Maybe we could put some signs up there saying this was planned to be done. However, these situations arose, and then that way people will know that you're on it, but something delayed it. Okay. All right, Arturo?
Mayor, I don't have anything to report tonight.
Okay, thank you, Arturo. Wendy?
Good evening, Mayor. I just want to report from last Thursday, we had the LIWAP event at the City Hall, and so we did receive 28 residents, and out of 28 residents, 20 were approved on the spot. So we're going to have one last event on March 21st before the program expires from the Long Beach Community Action Partnership. That's their credit program. So they are encouraging residents to still come out, they're asking for the larger bills to come out and just get them resolved on the spot on March 21st. It will be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's all.
Thank you. And we did have an event that was canceled at the last moment by them.
Correct.
When we put the announcement that it was canceled, that's all we did. We said it was canceled. If we could put a little bit more information so people understand why it was canceled, because it would just raise questions as to, wait a minute, we're waiting for this, it's the day before and you guys are canceling it now. If they could at least understand why it was canceled, maybe.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
John?
Good evening, Council. Just wanted to let you know we have some exciting opportunities available here for folks that are interested in employment with the city. I would just encourage them to go to cityofsouthgate.org, hit on the jobs tab. And in administrative services, we're looking for a full-time senior accountant or accountant. Hot on the presses tonight is management analyst in community development. It's posted as well. In Parks and Rec, we have 3 great hourly positions. We're looking for a Rec Leader 3 personal trainer. We're looking for a lifeguard and a Rec Leader 2 for grounds. Public Works has some exciting opportunities. We're looking for a full-time journey electrician. And also in the engineering side is a Public Works Senior Management Analyst. And last but not least, in our police department, some exciting opportunities. Of course, we're always recruiting for good folks to become police officers. Recruits, we'll put you through the academy, and for recruits and brand new officers, it's a $15,000 or $15,000 hiring bonus. For laterals, a $20,000. But we also are looking for a civilian custody officer, full-time, community service officer, full-time, and we're also looking for a senior administrative analyst. So kind of a variety for anybody out there interested. We probably have an opportunity for you.
Excellent. Thank you. Darren?
So on that front, tomorrow I'll be swearing in 3 police recruits, thankfully, because we're not even out of the first 2 months of the year, but I've lost 3 officers to other departments in 3 weeks. So I'm swearing in 3 tomorrow. We'll have 4 going into the police academy class at the end of March, and then it looks like we might have another 4 or 5 police officers going to the following. So we're making progress on the hiring. Again, we're very selective on who we pick. We got to make sure we have the right fit. So we're looking pretty good on that front. And then this Friday, I have a meeting with Senator Lena Gonzalez in Long Beach. She had reached out to discuss some of the retail theft in the southeast area. And I was most recently contacted by the sheriff last week, and he provided some pieces of legislation that he was supporting and asked LA County chiefs to look at them. And I think we're on the same page. So after I meet with Senator Gonzalez on Friday, we're going to ask for what we can do to help the organized retail theft and the fentanyl crisis, because there's two key pieces of legislation that we would like to see pushed through from the LA County Chief's perspective. And then next Wednesday, I'll be up in Sacramento at Legislative Summit, and I've asked to speak to Blanca Pacheco, who's also pushing some legislation on organized retail theft. So the goal is for our voice to be heard on how we need to push some of this legislation to really start impacting the retail theft. And as you'll see as I give the presentation on the crime stats, how important that is, at least in our community, because our thefts have gone up for retail theft. But other than that, that's it.
Thank you. And just to let you know, I'd like to see at some point information on the Explorers program. I know that Captain Teeples is no longer here, but I do have a couple of the girls from the softball team that are very much interested in trying to get in. So I'd like to get an update on that. Okay, here we go. Rob?
Thank you, Council. We've had discussions already this evening talking about transparency and ensuring that the community has ways to engage with the council and the decisions being made. And I was providing an update that in the time I've been here, I've been looking at options for the city as to the best ways to have the council meeting be available to the public. I was able to also do some study of surrounding communities. Having come from outside the South LA area, I've noticed many cities elsewhere have moved back to the pre-COVID model without Zoom, but where everyone's in person again. The council members are back, the community's back in the chamber. So with that, I've looked at also the options available for video service, which the city has never had. And there was a discussion that I was made aware of prior to my coming here, which looked at video options, which I think in general were thought of as a great idea, but the cost was very prohibitive. With some extra study and some pilot project learning we've seen from our treasurer, Jose, in the model that he's brought to the councils with putting his own equipment here. We've done some testing with our own city equipment, which we're actually showcasing tonight. And I've also got pricing, and so I will be moving forward with the installation of video equipment in the city chambers to allow video to now be the standard. That can be installed, secured and installed for less than $15,000, one-time fee. This would be very cost-effective. This would add a new channel to the city. This would have live streaming, so instead of just audio, you'd be able to hear audio and visual. It would be recorded on the city's YouTube channel, so you could see meetings at any time in the future. It also would not require city staff. People aren't aware right now that our Zoom model requires a professional Zoom license that costs us $7,000 a year. That license is up for renewal right now. So I'd like to not renew that. It also requires city staff, IT staff, to be behind the scenes at every council meeting for the entire duration of the meeting and every commission meeting. And that's very costly. The new model with the video will avoid those costs, provide a new channel, a visual record that will be available, and people that are unable to make it in person that still want to communicate, they will have the ability to continue to send in their questions or comments via email by whatever date, the time of day the clerk has as their cutoff, which I do not have at the tip of my tongue, and be able to still be part of our meeting from afar. So that is all set up to start at every meeting that we have after this one. So effective tomorrow, we'll be converting to that new model for both council and commission meetings. I think it'll be a great addition to how Southgate does business here, how it is transparent. And as one extra tip, we did a survey of 32 South Gateway cities as to how they engaged with the community since COVID. And as of right now, 28 out of 32 use video and other tools. Only 4 are left that still use Zoom. So it's definitely conversion that's happening everywhere. And for us to keep in step with our neighbors, we're going to add video and return to the model that we had prior, but with video added. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. I just have, I guess for our treasurer, Jose, have you had any issues with audio on your end?
Just when my battery dies off, but I don't think the city will have that issue since it's going to be hardwired into the audio system. So any audio issues have been, limited to the battery that's on, the mobile unit that I have.
Yeah, and the reason I asked the question is because with Zoom, we've had multiple issues with the audio where we can't clearly hear what they're saying, and sometimes they can't hear what we're saying. And we've had the other issues as well where the whole system goes down and we have to wait and risk canceling the rest of the meeting or postponing it for some other date because of how it's not, a fail-safe kind of system. Okay, Mr. Salinas, you're up to bat.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. We're just working on elections. Just a reminder for everyone listening, this coming Tuesday, March 5th, is our primary elections. Vote centers that we have available will be open from 7 to 8 p.m. It'll be Bryson Elementary School, Montero Elementary School, Southgate Middle School, and Southgate Park Sports Center in the conference room. We also have vote by mail drop boxes available 24 hours, and we have 3 of those: Hollydale Community Park, Southgate Civic Center, and Cesar Chavez Park. Also, just to comment on the caller regarding the minutes for the different commissions and committees, I will reach out to management who oversees those commissions committees, and thank you very much for letting us know about the minutes. Thank you.
Mr. Treasurer, Jose de la Paz.
Well, I am pleased to hear that there is video streaming capabilities coming to our city. It's going to be a great way for our community to continue to, stay connected with, the council and their elected officials. The cost is right in line with what I anticipated last year. So I think I had, put together an email that indicated $14,000 roughly would be the cost, and the bulk of it would be the wiring, and that's exactly what I think the cost will land as we move forward with that option. We're back to business as usual. I'm pleased to see that COVID has subsided and our community is coming back out into the events that we've held across the city during the centennial. And I'm excited to see hopefully folks coming back into our council chambers and engaging directly with our elected officials. And with that said, there's nothing else to report. Thank you.
Thank you, and at the risk of causing change to your hat size, I remember when we first got the report on the video cameras, and I said, that seems a little bit too steep. We need to tap into our resident expert in those fields, and I'm sure he can find something a little bit more affordable and reasonable, and you've done that. You've demonstrated that this can be done, so I want to thank you personally, because the camera thing, I know that we discussed this recently, but I think we've discussed this even like 5 and 6 years ago. Other cities had video, and I would have loved to see it here, and now it's going to happen. And again, it's thanks to Jose de la Paz, who demonstrated that it can be done. Okay, let me bring it over here. Go that way first? Okay. Councilmember Barron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to ask a question regarding the playground fencing that's up right now, Glenn, if I can, if you can provide an update. I know that the fencing that was put up, it kind of closed up the basketball courts as well on the northern side of the basketball courts. What's the timeline of that area being able to be opened up for that?
I think it's more related to the removal of the existing rubberized surfacing. Because of some large trucks coming in there. Because we met out there today, O.C. Harrell, myself, and my staff, and their staff, and kind of talked about pathways for egress, ingress for the large trucks. So hopefully, once they get that done, then we can push that fence back a little bit more.
Okay.
Towards the grass, to the grass
grass
edge,
area.
because that's where they're going to put their supplies to complete the project, is on the grass. It's easier for us to fix the grass than those surfaces on the courts.
Perfect. And you think, do you know of a time frame for it to be completed, the playground area?
Shooting for a few weeks, but it depends on weather. They can't
Right.
pour it when it's cold.
Right,
Or
right.
too hot. But of course, it's not going to be too hot. The cold, rain is the issue.
Right, okay, great.
We have another meeting this Thursday, and then we'll update Steve as we go also.
Great, thank you very much for that update. And then, Art, just a question for you regarding the medians on Long Beach and Garfield. I know that we've seen a lot of photos of residents driving into them. One of the questions that has been brought up to me is, they've been dug out for quite some time. When will they start being filled and the landscaping taking place?
Yeah, so I don't have that exact schedule at this time, but I will provide an update after tonight. I'll make sure it's up on the city's website as well for the general public. But the chief did bring this issue to my attention today, so we're going to look at adding more traffic control in the meantime.
Right, thank you. And I do see that we did go out and put a little more the A-frames and some signage in areas where it's coming out of an intersection, so it's a little more visible. So I appreciate that. I know that a lot of residents were requesting that as well, so appreciate that as well. And then, Art, also with you, I know I met with one of the city council members in the city of Whittier regarding their, I believe it's called their Greenway Trail. And the main reason was I wanted to see their solar lights that they use to light up the entire trail. And they also use it for some streets that lead up to the trail there. And it got me to think, if we would ever consider converting some of our street lights, because I know the majority of our main highways have already been converted to the LED lights, but we have a lot of our residential streets that are having issues where the light's going down, the electricity grid is a lot older than it should be. If maybe considering an upgrade in that whole light system to a solar system, would that be a possibility?
So right now, it's a good question. Right now, we're working on a study to see what is feasible and all of the options that are available in the industry. And solar is something that we're going to be considering as well. The challenge with solar is that we're not finding cities that have implemented solar area-wide, city-wide as a solution. If we're the first city out to shoot and something goes wrong, then it's a big deal. What we're finding with solar technology, it's that it's more limited to things like parking lots or trails or what have you, where it works well, particularly because you don't have to run additional infrastructure. But solar is something that we've looked at before and we've just shied away from because it's just not been a proven technology for streetlights. But we will certainly bring more information to the council when the study is completed, which should be within the next month or two.
Yeah, and I know that the Senator Lina Gonzalez also is pushing for a large initiative to make cities greener, and be able to get state funding for these type of projects. I just think it's a good thing to look into and to try to create a test environment where we can say, hey, let's pick a street, let's see how it works. It creates an opportunity where I think we can make a decent investment into solar energy for that.
Yes, certainly we'll look into that.
Thank you. And then just in reminder for our residents, we're still taking signups at the Junior Athletic Association for baseball and softball. But beyond the signups, we are in need of coaching. The number of teams that we're allowed to sign up is really dependent on the number of coaches we get, right? So if we get enough coaches, we'll add another team to the list. So if you know anybody who out there who wants to take on a team and really give back to the community in a way that I think has been very beneficial for me personally. I started coaching at the Junior Athletic Association actually when I was 16 years old. Gil was my sponsor at the time, and he signed me up to coach a basketball team at the time. And I was 16. I was able to do it. It was a lot of fun. And kept coaching all the way until I had my daughters, and then I coached them all the way through. So it's a great way to give back to the community. I'm a strong advocate for our youth sports, and I really think it's a great way to do that. So if you want to be a coach, please come to the park and to the JA office there with us. But that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Rios?
Thank you, Mayor. Briefly, a few things. Just the Meredith, where are we at? Did the commissions have? Are they having quorum? Are they meeting quorum? Or because I want to get a mic.
Yes, we actually have, we had 12 attend our last meeting. So, I'm sorry, we had 9 attend our last meeting. And currently, we have 12 active members.
So you don't have a
So-
quorum.
No, well, we did, because we have 12 active members. We were able to have a quorum, yes.
Okay.
But we still do need
A push from us. Okay.
appointees if
Okay.
you want to fill the 20 positions.
Okay. And then I noticed that we got 2 letters regarding childcare, early care, education. I think that's important. I know the speaker was talking about early, he's going to have a study done because he's trying to pass some legislation for little young ones and seniors. There's a big issue with isolation of seniors also. So we'll hear about that more. But early care, whatever we could find out to, know what our parents needing, is there enough services for the folks that want to work and so for the care of those kids. I don't know what it is, but if you could find out a little bit more about this, we know what they need. I know the college at one time, the plan was to build a child care center at the site like we do at the main campus. And so I know that's something that if we could find out a little bit more about that so we can see how we could advocate for that and work with the other child care providers in the area in regards to making that happen. The senior part, with this body here, Rod approved the senior commission. So maybe it's time we start thinking about actively all of us assigning somebody to the senior commission so we could hear from them what kinds of programs and services that they want to implement or foster. And I think that's important. I mean, seniors, I know the Parks does a lot of things with seniors, but I think it's important. A lot of seniors are, they're still young when they retire. They're still vibrant. They still have ideas, life experience. And I think they could add to that conversation in terms of what kind of programs, activities they would want nowadays. So hopefully we could move that along. We could all start thinking about finding our who would be a good commissioner to serve on that body. So, and then, I just, Arturo, I'm a tree guy. I believe in the canopy, and that's what gives value to our community. I know that some of the concern about, but I've seen a lot of trees along Long Beach cut down, big trees, and I just wonder about the streets. And I know we have an aggressive campaign out there because some of them are pretty old, some of the trees along with the city, but just, can we get a number, an idea? Because I see a lot of places where there's just, it kind of hurts my soul when I see just, that the trees are being cut down like that. And so just to get a little handle of what's going on out there, because it does limit the value of our community too, I think, not having this canopy out there. In other communities, they have a lot of trees, and that's what gives it value, I think. So just something to think about in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. I can provide a really quick update. With regards to what's going on Long Beach, we did an assessment of those trees. And now that we're working on the project was the appropriate time to remove all those trees that had issues. So there are some trees that are being removed on Long Beach, and then we're planting new trees. There's also the hazardous tree assessment that we did, under which we're removing trees. That's just not optional. They're large, they're deficient, they're diseased, and so they're having to be removed. But we're also working with the tree people. The tree people are going to plant 1,200 trees here within, possibly complete the work, possibly within the next year. Today, they've planted over 500 trees. So on one end, yes, we are removing trees. And unfortunately, it's trees that can no longer stay up, but we are planting new trees as well.
Okay, thank you. And then finally, I just want to say, everybody, do your civic duty. You got less than a week away from voting, so start looking at who's running and everything else and get involved. Thank you.
Yeah, the only funny thing I found is I know that when Councilmember Rios mentions seniors, he says they, and when I say it, I say we, and I believe you're a little bit older than me though, right? So just an observation. There's no shot. I mean, I know where I'm at. In any case, Councilwoman Avalos.
Thank you. So I just want to ask a follow-up question to what Josh brought forth in his comments. Arturo, if you can answer the question of what is the lifetime of the solar lights? Because I know it has a lifespan, because once the sun hits it, it immediately begins to deteriorate slowly, but it deteriorates. What is the lifetime or the shelf life of a solar light?
Yeah, I'm going to know more after the study is completed. I just got a text after the question was asked that I'm going to have a memo in place within about a couple of weeks. So once I have that, I'll be able to answer the question. In terms of the life of lighting really depends on the different technologies or what have you and what you invest in, but there is a life to those. And so when we're making decisions and recommendations to council, we will look at what is the investment, what is the life of that, or what have you, of all of the different options so that we can make a prudent recommendation and the council can make some decisions, but we will have that information.
Perfect, thank you. So with that, I've been battling with this dilemma since the last council meeting. And I think I owe my community, our community, an apology. Let me give you some context in regards as to why I feel this way. In the last council meeting, we had nurses that came in and said, hey, 9 of us were terminated. It wasn't alleged, it was a fact. So when any of us decides to go to the doctor or to any hospital, who do we rely on to be there for us? Not so much the doctors, but the nurses. So when these nurses are being asked by their corporate employers to break the law, I asked the question, who does it fall on? Who's at fault? Now, I believe all of us have moral dilemmas when we have certain professions. And nursing, I think, is one of those that has the burden, as well as doctors, which is to do no harm. That though I supported them, I asked myself, how many community members have lost their lives because they were in the hands of these nurses that followed the directive of their corporate employers? Where does that leave our community members? Who's going to make those deaths right? So that's my issue that I've been grappling, because to me it's a moral dilemma. That I've been asked in a professional level to break certain rules, and I refused. And I know I'm not the only one on this council. I would much rather step away and let go of the financial gain than to know that I caused harm on another human being because I was asked to follow certain protocols that I know for a fact it goes against protocol, it goes against a human being's life to live. So that's why I feel that I need to apologize to my community, because I don't think that at the time I took that into consideration. I had the opportunity of being up in Sacramento this past week representing Vector Control. And again, everybody calls us the mosquito people. However, I thank my colleagues for allowing me to be on that council, because I got a chance to actually see what exactly they have to deal with. So the purpose was the legislative, actually going up there and asking legislators to support any new legislation that has to deal with mosquitoes, specifically the vaults where the electricity is being housed, of how quickly these mosquitoes multiply, not to mention the Aedes mosquitoes, which are probably one of the most dangerous mosquitoes that we have now in California, where they will lay their eggs separately, and the minute there's water, they will dry. But if one drop of water hits them, they will revive. So I'm going to use our council as an example. One of my colleagues has malaria or dengue. That mosquito bites it. The only mosquitoes that bite are the females to make those eggs. Those eggs are now infested with that illness. They can pass it on to our community. So it's more of a public health hazard for me that I think that's why I've embraced it, because we need to educate our legislators and let them know this is how dangerous this little insect could be to the public health. The second one was obviously to advocate for the funding to stay for CalServe. CalServe is a database that is being housed at UC Davis, and it gives all of the vectors access as to where are the different populations of mosquitoes. So I asked all of the legislators, what do you think is the lifespan of a mosquito? Oh, 2 days, 3 months. It's 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, one female mosquito, just in one lay, can lay up to 200 eggs. They can hatch in a couple of days. Those 100 will have another couple of 100. Now, this is consistently. So to me, representing the community at that level is not only a privilege, but an honor to make sure that certain funding stays, because it not only represents Southgate, but all of Southern California. So it was really nice to go up there and advocate for the community. Definitely voting, exercise your right to vote. Pick the best candidate that you think is going to represent you. Regardless of what you hear, if you know the candidate and you have full faith, then you support that candidate. I know I missed out on Friday, our employee recognition, and so I just want to make sure that all of the employees know that I am supportive. So out of protection of my health and the health of them, I was not there. Unfortunately, I got our friend for, I don't know, third, fourth time. So again, the coronavirus is still out there. So please be mindful of your health and the health of your loved ones at all times. That's all I have to say, and I thank my colleagues.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Maria Davila.
Thank you. You know, sitting on vector control for almost 11 years, I mean, you do learn a lot on mosquitoes. And believe me, when it comes down to our community, it's good to bring that information and pass it on, because just a bucket or water stung anywhere, that creates mosquitoes, and we have to be very careful, because it's disease. It doesn't matter, I mean, how much of a water, as long as we continue emptying those pots or even pools, kiddie pools and things like that. So, but you're the mosquito woman now, I'll leave that to you. Again, this Friday, we did celebrate employees recognition. Congratulations to all the employees who been with us 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and the retirees, our longest employee, Ron. I know he has his real name. I know him by Ron. 40 years. That's amazing. That it's amazing. So, you know, congratulations to them. Congratulations on their retirement. We'll be doing the retirement for Ron and for Dave Torres, so I'm looking forward to that. Again, I was going to say the West Nile virus, thinking of mosquitoes. COVID is still out there. County Sanitation District, they are testing every day for COVID-19, and it comes out positive, and it's on the rise. And since November, it's been going up. So we still need to make sure that we take care of ourselves. It still shows, and we just need to, take care of everybody. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I really don't have much, but just congratulations to our employees, for being with us for so many years. And with that, thank you.
Thank you. And, seriously, my colleagues here are phenomenal, all of them. They really work really hard on trying to address community needs. And the work that they do is phenomenal. And then our staff is also doing a really great job. A couple of things I want to touch on now. First, on a couple of comments that were made. The streetlight issue. Years ago, we were having a lot of problems in certain sections in the city, and we were able to obtain grants and I believe it's like 44 or 5% of our cities have converted to the LED lights. But that still leaves, 50 some odd percent, 56% of them are still the older lights. And now they're over 80 years old, something like that. And they don't make parts for these anymore. Which leads to, I went to a neighborhood watch meeting last week on San Carlos, and one of the things they brought up was the street lights. So I did speak to Rob, and I asked him to look into the possibility of getting more grants for that, because they're not cheap. And the big chunk of our budget are grants, and this staff does a phenomenal job of getting those grants. But if we can try to get some more resources for that, that would be great. The issues on Long Beach Boulevard and Garfield, I got to tell you, every day I get up in the morning and I drive around town. I send messages to Rob and other staff members on there's graffiti here, there's illegally dumped furniture there, there's a pothole over here. I try to address those issues, and staff goes out and takes care of them. But one of the things that I found on both Long Beach and Garfield is I'm driving at the speed limit, as a lot of the vehicles out there are doing that. You still have these other vehicles that are going at 55, 56, 56. They're going fast. It looks like we're stopped, and they're just zooming by. They're running red lights, and then you wonder why they have accidents. And again, I asked Rob if we can take a look at all the accidents that have occurred in those areas and see what caused it, so that maybe we can find some way to prevent it. But accidents, I mean, when you hit something, you kind of ask yourself, were they distracted or what? But I see a lot of people who are not crashing. It's just a few, but those are the ones that are highlighted. Okay, I talked about the neighborhood watch. I want to thank our staff for continuing to be out there with the community and trying to listen to their concerns. And Sean does a very good job of letting us know. I try to go to them, but sometimes I can't. I missed a couple because of other meetings that I have. But again, I really appreciate the efforts that Sean and the rest of Southgate PD is doing in making those meetings go. You didn't mention the Chinese New Year event that we went to, but that was pretty exciting to see. Well, let me tell you, those children were phenomenal doing the kung fu things, and pretty impressive. I can't do two-handed flips, and these little kids are doing with one hand, and they got something else in the other hand. It's rather wild, but it was the first annual Chinese New Year event. It took place over at El Paseo, and when they said it was the first annual, I'm kind of hoping they continue with it, because there were a lot of people there that really enjoyed that. This week, I guess, is Read Across America, and today I went to Kip Corazon Academy, and those children were something really special. Never been surrounded by 570 some odd kids as I'm reading, and so it was pretty fun. And I told them, and please don't laugh, but one of my favorite books was Green Eggs and Ham. Okay, so, and the reason I thought it was great to read that one is because, being that I'm vegetarian, when I talk to people and I say, hey, you should try this, and they say, oh, no, I'll rather eat the real stuff. I said, no, you should try this vegetarian patty. And I feel like reading the book to them of Green Eggs and Ham, So you try it, and you'll realize just how good it is. But anyhow, I had a great time, and tomorrow I'm at a different school, so those are great programs they have for the kids. I, too, missed the Employee Appreciation Day. As you know, I coach at Southgate High School. We played at Franklin, and unfortunately, when the game ends at 5 and you have to wait an hour for the bus to pick you up and bring you back, and then it takes an hour to drive back here, and then by the time I drive home, shower and change, and then drive an hour away, it's pretty much, my bedtime, right? So, but I think the employees appreciate that we appreciate them. I think they know that, and I appreciate that Vice Mayor Davila notified them of my absence because of that. And but I do care about them. Our staff does an amazing job, and I'm just going to be there that day. But I was there with them here. And with that, I think that's it. Let's go ahead and move on to consent calendar.
Agenda items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are consent calendar items.
Okay, so let me open this up to the Zoom audience first.
We have Mr. Mario Dominguez.
Okay, I'm going to hit on one real quick. Okay, I think this bespeaks of an organization that is out of control. I mean, how do you let something like this happen, really? So this is referring to Urban Orchard Park. And then on to, what is it, 6. Okay, so Mr. Cervantes, this Dish Wireless installation of the antennas on the water tower. The question I have about the water tower, is that thing still active? Does it actually function? Is it operational? Does it work? That's what I have on 6. And then the one on 7 here with the minutes, you know, I clicked on the minutes to see, because I had to see, because, you know, crybaby chicken shit Buckley here is whining about the December 12th minutes and, you know, what, you know, the threat that I made of wanting to shoot Mussolini in the ass. You know, I love how, you know, I'm reading the minutes and I'm thinking to myself, oh, look at this. I'm like, oh, wow, look at this. Miss Glaze didn't give him shit. You know, now Buckley knows how I feel every time I passed an idea on to Jeffers, and Jeffers would just, you know, he'd go off his own way and you know, do his own thing. So now Buckley knows what it's like to be passed over. Yeah, and now he knows what it's like to you know, to be ignored and denied shit. Yeah. So also, well, you know, the thing I want to say to the council members, why does chicken shit Buckley need to have my comments in print? I mean, he has the fucking audio. It's in the city's archive, for crying out loud. He can get a Bluetooth boombox and blast that shit. Hang on a second, and have his neighbors hear it. And you know, and I'm thinking of doing that myself. Just getting a Bluetooth boombox speaker and then just blaring it out loud, and then just so that I can just hear myself, you know, threaten Mussolini and want to shoot his ass. And also, the thing I want to say is that, you know, that you have a very dark, twisted sense of humor, and that was meant to be a joke. I mean, does anyone really believe that I'm, you know, the type of sociopath that's going to threaten to shoot someone in the ass and then go to that meeting, shoot Mussolini, and then say, okay, I just did the thing I said I was going to do, and I'm going to walk on home because ain't nothing going to happen to me. I mean, what kind of the deranged sociopath does some shit like that? All right, that's all I have.
Next speaker.
We have Mr. Thomas Buckley.
Hi, this is Thomas Buckley. So council, this is the environment you guys have created. And apparently we're moving off of Zoom into council chambers. And so I hope you'll consider the threats that people make toward each other, especially life-threatening ones. I don't know if you guys are watching the Alec Baldwin trials. Right now they're interviewing the armorer, and she's going through trial. But a lot of people don't find things like this funny. In fact, the courts and judges don't find it funny at all. And you have to be careful, counsel, because everything you say in response to these things might be heard by a judge. And yeah, it's not a good safety protocol to allow things like this to happen. And I feel sorry for the victims now and in the future. Counsel, please, and forgive my voice, please. I hate being sick. Please take heed, counsel. It sounds, I'm referring to the minutes. Jody, you did a great job. But I just wanted to draw a reference that I am speaking about a relevant item before I get interrupted. And thank you, Mr. Salinas, for not interrupting me. But yeah, that's all. Thank you, counsel.
Next speaker.
We have no other.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say something for the record here. It is unfortunate in some respects that the First Amendment does not put in place the kind of guardrails that we'd like to see when it comes to public safety, use of guns in society, et cetera, whether it's meant as a joke or not. There's no place for it in our deliberations here. In my opinion, there's no place for the use of foul language here, but the Ninth Circuit and other courts have allowed for that kind of language to be here. So we have people that may be tuning in here for the first time. And I don't want anyone listening to this to believe that there's a tacit understanding that we agree with Mr. Dominguez's comments or the use of his language. There's no tacit agreement that we believe in the use of any kind of violence toward, whether jokingly or not, toward any of our city residents. There really is no place for that in this discussion. And, we are limited as a council to prohibit much of the speech. And then once the speech is said, sometimes in the interest of justice, we let it go. But I think we need to be on record as denouncing that kind of language here. Someone wants to sue us over that, let it be. But it does not have a place in this community, in this hall, before the city council. It is something that needs to be said, and I hope that it will make its way into the minutes for future guidance to our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to close the Zoom audience, and seeing no one here, I'm going to close this portion as well. And I thank you for that comment, because I think that, the evening of December the 12th was no different than any other meeting in terms of Zoom. What we hear, what we listen to here is much different than what people hear at home. The sound sometimes in here is not as good as when you hear the recording. And on the December 12th, unfortunately, Mr. Dominguez went above and beyond a statement that really did cross that line. But when he was talking, I was interrupting him, saying multiple times, Mr. Dominguez, I never heard his comment, because I was trying to interrupt him and get him back on line where he should have been. And when I said to him, thank you for your support, because he's always supporting us in terms of the dialogue that's coming from certain people from the community. And I never supported that comment that came out as a threat. And when I found out about it the next day, I reached out to Mr. Dominguez, and I said to him, I understand you made a comment. What exactly did you say? And he admitted to me what he said, and I said, you can't do that. This is going to land you in hot water. But I called him the next morning. I told him that's unacceptable. And then I listened to the audio, and then I heard clearly what he said. Had I heard it here that night, I would have done the same thing. I would have said, you can't do that. But here, all of us that were here, none of us were able to hear his comment. We couldn't hear what he had said. But it wasn't until you listened to the audio that was recorded by our system that you can clearly hear what the comment was. But that being said, again, that kind of commentary is inappropriate. But it's not the first time. We had a group of people here that were invited in to come in and insult us and threaten. We have people who refuse to come here now out of fear, but they were invited by people as their special guests. And that's amazing that people would come in here and do that. But, the First Amendment allows them to come in and make comments like that. And it's sad. It really is sad. But in any case, let's bring it back to council.
Mr. Mayor,
Consent.
I'd like to make a motion to approve consent items 1 through 7.
We have a motion and a second. all seven, 1 through 7.
Roll call.
Motions 1 through 7.
Councilmember Avalos,
Yes.
Councilmember Barron,
Yes.
Councilmember Rios,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davila,
Yes.
Mayor Hurtado.
Yes, and I will be recusing myself from item number 1. It's dealing with the urban orchard that is within proximity of where I live.
Thank you.
Hold on a second, please.
Arturo, I know you have a project that is on Tweety. Can you let me know which item that one is, if it's item 5?
It's
Or item
number 5, the
6?
water main.
It's item 5?
Yeah, the water main. I think one of the streets where it's on Tweety.
Is
That's
that Tweety
correct.
Boulevard and, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Which area on Tweety? Is it entire Tweety?
I don't have the
Okay,
specific
just for-
area here.
Just for
But it is
the
on Tweety.
purpose of cautious, I'm going to abstain on 5.
Well, then recuse you
You're
me.
gonna
I'll
recuse
recuse
yourself.
myself on 5.
And I don't know if that impacts you. I don't know how far you are from Tweety.
I'm a distance.
Okay, is that correct? Is he safe?
Yeah, I'm on Orange.
Well, I know, but Tweety, how far from Tweety are you, though? It's over 500. It's over 500, okay, there you go. Okay. All right. Did you get that?
Just for the record, everyone is voting yes on all. Vice Mayor Davila is recusing herself from item number 5, and Mayor Hurtado is recusing himself from item number 1.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Avalos.
Okay, reports. Oh, we're going to item 8.
Item number 8. Okay. Thank you. The City Council will consider receiving and filing a summary report on the state of the city as it pertains to crime in Southgate for the calendar year 2023.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, like I've done in the past couple years, have an opportunity to present to you and reflect on the crime that occurred in the city in 2023. And tonight, I'm going to do similar to what I did last year, just give you a high-level perspective of crime, talk about where we had some spikes, talk about where we had some reductions. And I will address some of the most important issues that my command staff and I have looked at, and that's traffic safety and then impacting some of the violent crimes. But for purposes of this conversation, I wanted to just kind of go over what we're going to cover. So Part 1 crimes are the measurable crimes that are typically used to measure when you look at crime stats according to the FBI. And Part 1 offenses include the homicides, the forcible rapes, the robberies, aggravated assaults, burglaries, larceny, which includes the thefts, grand theft auto, and arsons. Those are the ones that we typically look at because they're the most violent in nature, and those are the ones that we track. Part 2 offenses, those are offenses that we track as well, but they aren't included in the Part 1 crimes simply because they're a little bit lesser in severity. Those include the simple assaults, and to differentiate the difference between simple assault and aggravated assault is simple assaults can be when two individuals get into a fist fight and there's no damage, no internal injuries, no broken bones, no contusions. Aggravated assaults usually have an aggravating component to that where bones are breaking or broken, violence by poles and firearms. Those are the types of crimes that are counted in the aggravated assault. And then again, the smaller, lower level, which although are still important because they're quality of life crimes, the counterfeiting, the fraud and embezzlement, stolen property, vandalism, weapons and drugs. And drugs in particular is kind of that sour point in this whole thing because there was a movement to decriminalize possession of drugs and being under the influence. And that is the catalyst to other crimes. I mean, that seems to be a common denominator. So although their Part 2 crimes are lower in severity, I think they're as impactful as the Part 1 crimes because there is a correlation and a relationship between the Part 1 and Part 2 crimes. So I first wanted to address the responding calls for service. Last year, we were at 47,269. We had a slight dip this year at 45,391. The 45,000 is significant because what I was able to do is pull some numbers, and the last time we actually had 45,000 calls for service was 2016. So we're significantly high on calls for service. Just 3 years ago, or in 2020, at the end of 2020, we had 39,000 calls for service. So the additional calls for service are pretty significant in regards to time that's spent out in the field investigating, the resources that are used to investigate some of these crimes. But if you take a look at the types of calls and the responses that we're going to, and I didn't want to regurgitate what's in the report. You have the opportunity to read the report. I just want to touch on the high-level dimensions of this. And disturbance, that includes calls for service, transients, fights, and just basic nuisances that we get. We ask people to call when you see something going on, and that's what the outcome is you get a lot more calls. Hey, something suspicious is going on here. Please check on that. I know that each council member gets a lot of complaints on parking issues, and we do have a lot of parking-related problems in the city. It is a premium to have your parking space available, and consequently, that's what happens when you have lack of parking is complaints. Every day we're dealing with it. That seems to be a very high, significant call for service, and we try to divert them to our parking enforcement unit. Traffic-related incidents, welfare checks, grand theft autos. GTAs actually went up this year, and I'll talk a little bit about comparables to other cities, but we're right in line with what other cities are looking at as far as the spike in grand theft autos. And then theft investigations as well. But if you look at the Department of Children and Family Services, DCFS reports have always been high in Southgate. We have a lot of mandated reporters in the city. Schools, at the JAA, if you have an incident where you suspect there's some abuse going on, you call and you're mandated to do so. That's why those numbers are high. I was able to speak to the regional administrator over at Santa Fe Springs who covers our area. And typically what happens is Southgate is one of those cities that has a high volume of calls. Coincidentally, she had reached out to me today and wants to station a DCFS worker at the station. So she has 2 people that will split the time here, but they'll be here a whole week. We actually have a desk space for them when we built out our detective bureau. So when they had a restructuring of DCFS, they pulled their people back. Just ironically, the email came today and said that they're ready to send somebody back here. And to house a DCFS worker at our station is a significant plus for us because we have immediate response on caseloads. They're working on cases that address Southgate-related issues. The important part to remember about DCFS cases is they're very long and tedious and require a lot of work from the line-level officers to investigate. Some of them are a lot more complex than others. Some of them are simply verify that this information is true. But I think in the abundance of caution, we're getting a lot more of the referrals because people want to make sure that they're doing what they have to protect the children. And then finally, keep the peace. We get complaints every day. As I had a conversation with a lady today, and neighbors can't get along sometimes. And they try to call us out there to resolve those issues. And unfortunately, sometimes those are issues that are not law enforcement related. So we try to refer them to the agency that can help, resolve those issues. But those are the numbers of calls to those types of calls. So moving on to the next slide. So if you look at the reported Part 1 crimes, we had a 5.6 increase from the previous year. And I'll put that into context because the next slide actually shows the breakdown of crimes that we're going to be talking about. And although there was an increase in overall Part 1 crimes, we had some decreases in certain areas. So we had a 36% reduction in rape cases, a little bit over a 5% decrease in aggravated assaults, which are the serious ones as opposed to the simple assaults. We had a significant drop in burglaries. That's residential vehicle burglaries, about close to 25%. And then the arsons went down 50%. So those are significant crimes that I think Through the course of the year, we've been able to discuss with our public through our social media outlet the importance of securing your vehicle, parking it, in an area where, it's safe, alarms. We're trying initiatives like the steering wheel lock. Those are the types of things that I think are important, and we're going to continue to do that this year. So in comparison, I put the 2021, 2022, and 2023 crimes. And although it's a 5.6% spike in Part 1 crimes, much of that has to do with the homicides. The last time we had that many homicides was probably, I think the last time we had 9 homicides was 2007. So you see, it was a very unusual year. Now, when we talk about homicides, one of those included in that 9 is an actual vehicle manslaughter case where it was a fatal traffic accident. But the reason why FBI counts that as a homicide is because if there's criminal culpability attached to that act and that person was in fact charged, then that counts as a homicide. So if you look at the homicides, absent the traffic collision, you have 8 homicides. You might recall one of them occurred when there was a domestic violence incident where a female was killed by her boyfriend at the park. The other ones were all by handgun. So we're going to talk about some of the handgun seizures that we've had this last year. But if you look at the 80% spike in the homicides, I think that is what helped inflate the 5.6. All things being equal, if you were to take that away and we had, say, 5 homicides from last year, you wouldn't have the 5.6% increase. But again, rapes went down. We had a slight increase in robberies. Talked about the aggravated assaults going down and the larceny and thefts. That is somewhat of a big issue for us. That includes a lot of things like the retail theft and the theft from vehicles, copper theft, some which the city were victims, when they steal those plaques on the park in front of the state. Ironically enough, we had the plaques from the front of the police station taken off. Who would imagine that? But if you look at those numbers, that's how we broke down those numbers. Now look at 2022's overall Part 1 crimes, 3,456 to 3,651. That's not a significant number, if you will, but it's enough to shift it 5.6%. So one of the things when I was compiling the information for purposes of this report is I wanted to get my finger on the pulse on where are we spending most of our time. Walmart, it's in order starting on the left going down. Walmart is the first one. They're big retail theft targets, if you will. And tomorrow, myself and my team, along with the city manager, are going to be reaching out, or actually we're meeting the Azalea Management Company to talk about an ambassador program, because I had mentioned to them that there were some concerns that not enough attention was being paid there because Walmart, Warehouse Shoe Sale, In-N-Out Burger, Ross, they're all in that shopping center. So what do we need to do to help impact that? So the property manager said, let's talk about an ambassador program. We have that same program at the property on Alameda and Tweedy. And I think Southgate might be a good location to start that program again. So tomorrow morning, we're going to be meeting with them, figure out what that involves as far as deployment of and what benefits we can get out of it. But those are the ones, and you can see that a lot of them, there's no rhyme or reason. In-N-Out Burger, I don't think it's a location where they're stealing stuff. It's just a location where a lot of people gather, panhandling and whatnot. But those are things that we're going to deal with. Called-in courts, I had mentioned this to you before. We respond there quite frequently, and Captain Arana has assigned a lieutenant to work to figure out what we can do to help mitigate some of those issues there. We'll even take it as far as consulting with the city attorney to look at it as a nuisance, because there are a lot of problems there. And I had mentioned this before, that when that was being developed, we had met with them before the building was even occupied. And we made some strong recommendations on what we think are safety measures to help prevent some of these issues that we're now seeing. For example, lighting, security of the gates, access to parking. I mean, one of the things that just jumped out at us right away was that there was not enough parking spaces. And that property has limitations on number of occupants in that building. And I'm fairly certain that those occupation limits have been exceeded. Consequence to that is you have more vehicles parking on the street. You're hearing more parking issues that are coming from the people on Calden, Bodine, Firestone Plaza. We did have a meeting last week at Bobby Thompson's house, and we talked about the parking issues. And some of the residents had said exactly that, is they can see people parking on their street and then walking over the Calden Court. So we're going to be addressing that particular apartment complex a little bit differently. Our approach will be different. We've had meetings with them in the past, but I think we need to take a little different approach moving forward. Path Villas, that's another location where we've gotten a lot of calls to, and that's the military, military veterans housing unit, and we were consistently getting calls there about resolving some of the civil issues, and we had to reach out to them and tell them that we're not here to resolve the civil issues. If you have a problem with them, you have to evict them the correct way. So we're going to work with them as well. I had run across the person that kind of oversees it regionally, and he was appreciative of our efforts, and we'll still work with them to try to get some things done with them. These are the top calls for service, the type, the disturbances, suspicious circumstances, grand theft autos. Although we had the program for the steering wheel lock, we think it's important to continue with our educational campaign to make sure that people lock their vehicles, make sure that they secure all their property. There's no valuable property in there. And we're going to be working with Kia because they have a program where they will come out and upgrade the software in your cars. Unfortunately, Kias are a vehicle that's stolen quite frequently, and there's a computer software glitch that allows people to steal the cars easily. So what they've done in the past is they've had teams come out and they will upgrade the software on Kia vehicles. So there's an opportunity for us there in the future. I don't have to tell you about the parking complaints and the traffic collisions. That's keeping our traffic unit busy and the parking enforcement unit busy. That's almost like one of those wicked problems where there's no real solution to that. We always get the callers that are worried about the street sweeping day, and then they worry about the neighbors putting trash cans out to reserve parking spaces. And unfortunately, we can't solve all those issues, so we try to be very direct and ask people during street sweeping days, please be courteous so that the city can street sweep, get their trash picked up, because if you allow them to park and those services aren't rendered, then we get complaints about the trash not getting picked up or the streets not getting swept. We do a lot of warnings, believe it or not, although we have to cite people. Some people just don't understand what we're trying to accomplish here. So I want to talk a little bit about traffic enforcement, because on this next slide, you're going to see what some of the issues that we've had. And so enforcement, we've impounded 2,684 cars. That's a lot of vehicles. We've issued citations for moving violations, and then parking citations. That's a lot of citations. It's a lot of citations, but if you look at the top 3 moving violations, it's speeding, failure to stop for red lights, and then failure to yield to pedestrians. So we have an Office of Traffic Safety grant program, and during the deployment of our grant period, we'll do what's called pedestrian stings. And we'll put officers in crosswalks, and if you're not stopping for people in the crosswalk, then we'll have a motor officer or a traffic officer down the street to cite you. Tweety is a thoroughfare that I'm driving in, and I see the disregard for pedestrians, and you almost have to stop and put your flashers on, or on many occasions I'll turn my overhead headlights on so that the approaching vehicles can actually see my car so that they know that there's a pedestrian there. So we're going to continue the pedestrian stings to make sure that people are aware of that, and we'll announce it. That's why we do that when we do DUI checkpoints. We announce that we're doing a DUI checkpoint. Our goal is not simply to increase the number of citations. Our goal is to get compliance. and get people to understand. So anytime we do a checkpoint, a speed checkpoint, or a pedestrian checkpoint, if we get no citations, then perhaps we're doing a good job, right? People are not violating the law. And then with fatal traffic collisions, this was another one that we're going to really emphasize. I know that LAPD had announced that their fatal traffic collisions had exceeded the number of homicides in the city of LA. And that's not too far off from what we have here. Those are all the intersections that we've had fatal traffic collisions, and the primary collision factors vary. We had a couple of DUIs. We had one where a pedestrian was at fault, walking out of the crosswalk, failure to yield to oncoming traffic. And I know that one of those that occurred last year was involved a female driver who was just charged last week for that crime. So she will be held accountable for that traffic collision last year. And then we had a couple that were fleeing from police. That's a big one because you're starting to see that now. I know that we had one last year at State Street in Southern, and that particular case, that's another one where a person is in custody. The person's in federal custody, and I had an opportunity to speak to the U.S. Attorney on Friday about that particular case, and that's a very significant investigation. We're handling the traffic, the fatality in there, and then the Sheriff's Department is handling the other component, the other criminal part of it. But the U.S. Attorney latched onto that case, and they took it, and the U.S. Attorney will be prosecuting that case. So these are some of the accomplishments. The response time, I get asked quite often, what's the average response time? And there really isn't an average response time. Much of it depends on the size of your city, who's available, what police officers are in the field at the time, are they on other calls? But 4 minutes and 3 seconds for priority one calls is actually pretty good. I did some review of other bigger cities. Sometimes when you get bigger cities, the response time's a lot longer, 15, 20 minutes for part one priority calls. So that's roughly what we've had the last few years, and I think that's a good response time. 7.5 square miles, and we have people, officers spread across 5 different areas of the city, so I believe our response time is good. Our arrests are up 9%. 5150 calls for service, they're always up. We get a lot of those calls quite frequently. And then individuals transported, 5150 is 258, which is a lot. You're averaging one every 1.5 days. That takes some time, and those are the ones that actually qualify for being taken 5150. Firearm seizures, there's 100, and the firearm seizures, you had 111 handguns and then 19 ghost guns. I did make this, I actually brought it up to George Gascon about firearm seizures, and in April at our Tri-County Conference, I asked him to address the chiefs on what he's doing with seizures, simple gun possession. I think that has gone unaddressed, if you will. It's a low-level crime to carry a gun, but unless you're caught committing a crime with a gun, it just seems like it's not a case that's pursued very, very aggressively. The unhoused crisis, Lieutenant Garcia has just done a tremendous job on cleanups and outreach effort. In fact, I just was able to get a hold of the county CEO's office. We'll work with them. So we got, for the LA County Chiefs, we were able to get a 4-year contract, $1 million each year for all the cities to divide up, $1 million per year for each of the 44 law enforcement agencies to specifically address homeless outreach. Laura Maldonado has just done a wonderful job at the domestic violence program. Victims served, that number, 247, includes a lot of different things. If somebody comes in and they need assistance getting a restraining order filed, we'll go with them to court and have them fill out the paperwork, and we'll walk them through the process. There's a lot of referrals. People refer individuals to our program from out of the area, and Laura's never said no to any victim. I think it's important that we take every victim that we can. And then we've done presentations, and this is to the school, to the WIC offices, to any location that she has an opportunity to present at, and she'll continue to do that. And then the support group sessions are 89, either one-on-one or group sessions with the victims. And everyone's very familiar with the community events. We're not just out there fighting crime, but we've always believed in that philosophy of community policing. Keeping that bridge maintained for our community events is important. The Family Day in the Park, Police Navidad. We got an event coming up here shortly with the autism awareness. I know that we brought the car show back, the first car show last year, and we're already talking about the discussions that we're going to have for the end of summer car show. And so we're going to continue to do those projects that I think are staple projects for the police department. One thing that's not on there, and I think it's worth noting, is that you look at the calls for service, there's 45,000 calls for service. In 2023, I've had 11 citizen complaints. So 11 is just fractions of a quarter of a percent, if you will, compared to 45,000 calls for service. That's not counting the traffic stops, the consensual encounters. So the officers are doing a very good job at not getting complaints. We've had an opportunity to see the effectiveness of body cameras. Some of the complaints come in, and the first thing that our watch commanders do will review the body camera. In full transparency, we allow, in some instances, the complaining party to look at the video and says, are you sure that this is what you remember? So I think I'm happy with those numbers. I'm happy with 11 complaints out of 45,000 calls for service. I don't have the numbers, but I'm sure that the city attorney can attest to the fact that supervision has been important to me, and because so, our liability claims have gone down. Less officers are crashing. Constantly working on the training component of, excuse me, the training component, making sure that they are educated on why it's important to, to not crash, if you will, because when they understand the SIRs with insurance, and they understand that we're self-insured, and that some of the first part of these claims come from the city budget, then that's less money for the police department and other departments. So I think they're starting to understand that. We have a young group of officers that are starting to get that message, and supervision is really important to me. Strong supervision is important to me, and that is a testament to why I think the liability claims have gone down and the complaints have gone down. We've picked up a few things on our own internally that we were not comfortable with, and with the help of Captain Arana and Captain Perez, we address it real quick, because once we identify something, I don't want to wait for a resident or a citizen to point it out. So risk management's a big issue in our department. We want to make sure that we're paying attention to that. And finally, I just wanted to put up these bullet points to talk about some of the goals and objectives and opportunities based on what we saw last year. And we recently talked about moving some people around in the traffic division. That will take place next week, so that we got more coverage during more times of the day to impact the traffic safety part of it. Recruitment of police officers and professional staff, which includes the build-out of a new website that we're currently working on. And then address violent-related incidents throughout the city, and I'm specifically talking the Riverbed. That off-road vehicle that you approved probably about a year and a half ago is finally getting in the final stages of getting painted and delivered to us. We have the opportunity to park that out El Paseo, and we're going to be able to get into the riverbeds, to pay attention to the railroad trestles and the right-of-ways where police vehicles can't get on there. So that's one of our key parts of trying to impact the violent crime in the riverbed. Expand the social media and build a new website, advocate for more public safety legislation, and the benefit of me being in the position of the president of LA County Chiefs is I'm forced to read all this legislation now. When Chiefs will send it to me, and God, the sheriff sent me a list of things, and I just, my eyes were blurry. But it's important because there's so many pieces of legislation, and we try not to focus on all of them, but the ones that really do affect the 45 cities. And then we're always going to continue the police department events and the community relation building. That's what we're known for in our community. And, you know, we don't succeed without the support of council, so we appreciate it. And all the other departments that help us out on these events, Public Works, HR. And that's it. I have if you have questions, I'll be more than happy to answer some of them.
Okay, let me open it up to the audience first. Let's take a look at Zoom.
We have Mr. Mario Dominguez.
Okay, I only need some extra time here, Mayor, because there's a lot of stuff here. Okay, so the first thing I'm looking at the item report is the drugs bracket. So fentanyl, 700,000 pills. 700,000. Who the hell is making 700,000 pills of fentanyl? This is death here. I mean, you take just a little bit of it, and that's it. You're not coming back from this. And you better pray that someone nearby has some Narcan. Otherwise, that's it. You're not going to recover. So if you could explain who the hell is making this and bringing this into our city, because this is just poison right here. And then the cocaine, 670 kilograms of cocaine. I'd like to know who has this cocaine and how do I get some of this? And please stop hoarding the drugs cheap and give us free drugs. Hang on, let me scroll down here. Hang on. Okay, so where it says cases submitted to Los Angeles County District Attorney, where it says rejected 390, what does that mean when a case is rejected? Was it lack of evidence? People not testifying? Witnesses not coming through? If you could just clarify what rejected means for cases. And hang on, scrolling down here. Hang on just a moment. Okay, so the traffic collisions. So you highlighted the where people died in these collisions. There's one street in particular that means a lot to me, and that's Tweedy and San Miguel Ave. See, that's my street. I live on that street. So that could have been me. So if you could just, did the person who committed this deed here, did they go to jail? Are they incarcerated? Did you catch them? Because that scares me, because I walk that street. I live down that street on Tweedy and San Miguel. So if you could hit on that, please, I'd appreciate it. And hang on, let me just go down here, just scroll in here. Hang on a second here. Okay, so where you have the where it station tours. So what is a station tour, Chief? If you could explain the station tours, I'd like to know more about that. And then, hang on a second, let me scroll down. I'm just looking here. Homeless, going past the homeless. The mental health related calls, regular calls for service. So Chief, who's doing the mental health related calls? This is where I think law enforcement really should pass the buck on to another agency or group of individuals to handle these calls, because this is where you can have missteps happening where someone ends up getting killed, and it just escalates, and you have officers going for what I call the kill option, which is they go for the gun, and the person may not have a weapon on them, but they're thinking, oh, this person's armed. The mental health related calls, is there another agency or group of people that can handle those calls? And let me see, anything else? Grand Theft Auto. I'll end with that. Thank you.
Next speaker.
We have Mr. Thomas Buckley.
Hi, this is Thomas Buckley. We haven't seen murder rates like this since 2007. I find that very sadly surprising. I'm sorry to hear that. Chief, if you could, can you explain to us what the difference is between fentanyl units and fentanyl pills are? I brought this up last year. I didn't receive an answer, so I'm wondering if you have an answer for that. What is the conversion ratio? For example, if I said 10 versus 1, it's meaningless because there are no units of measurement. So I'm wondering, what is the proportionality between units and pills as it's in this verbiage? Going back to the murder rates, what are possible leads to a murder, a potential murder? What are the signs? By the way, my timer is not running, so I hope council is conscious of my time. To my detriment, I'm saying that. Thank you. I think it was a little bit more than a minute, but that's okay. What are the possible leads to potential murder, criminal threats, constant harassment, and bullying? Sadly, I believe that these are what people face when they attend a council meeting, such as myself. And it's a statistic that we're seeing today on this item, murders and violence. I've heard these chambers referred to as a kill box in much elaboration. That's public record, and it wasn't that long ago, it was last year. So when we talk about murders and so forth, how is the city aiming to prevent this from being, put upon the public? January 4th, we had a murder on Pinehurst and Atlantic. So right at the start of this year, immediately. And then on January 21st, there was what some people refer to as the Centennial murder, which is the one that we had a few blocks away on State and Illinois from where you, the council members, were celebrating your city centennial. It was concurrent. It happened at the exact same time. So looking at these murder statistics, council, nearly double the murders. I think the city has a moral duty to place the safety of your residents first, and I think you have to rethink deeply how you're going to do it. What do they always say when it comes to public safety? They say, if you see something, say something. And guess what? A lot of times your residents do that, but you're not listening to them. Raul, I'm glad you did that today. I just wish our elected officials did the same. Thank you.
Next speaker.
We have no other.
I'm going to close the audience portion, and seeing that there's no one here, I'll close this portion as well. Okay, let me bring it back to council. Real quick, I don't know if there were any stats on, I know a lot of people have alarms at home, and I know that a lot of times their alarms go off, and you have to send someone out, but it was just a false alarm. Do you have any stats on that? Because it does take staff time.
Are you talking about false alarms on vehicles?
No,
auto alarms, or-
on home, like I know at the Thunderbird Villa, we've had a few people who have a home alarm and it just goes off, and then you send someone and it turns out that they just forgot to turn it off.
So we have a third-party administrator that handles the alarm, and the only way we know about the alarms if we respond is if you register those alarms. I can get those numbers, I just don't have them.
Yeah,
It's not
really necessary. I'm only concerned about the impact it has on your staff that has to go out and address it, and it's really.
Right. I don't think the false alarms, if you will, I think that's what we're talking about, has really impacted the calls for service. We've had a couple incidents where on Tweedy Boulevard where construction has triggered some of the alarms and we respond, but I don't have those numbers, but I do know that they're not as earth-shattering as you would think. We do respond, though.
Okay. Any questions, my colleagues?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Chief, thank you for the report. Really helpful, insightful. Just a few questions and thoughts, I guess. I didn't notice anything about suicides. Do you track those? I mean, because, that has been, a big issue. You hear a lot about that happening.
Yeah, we track those, but for purposes of crime, it's not a crime. So I didn't include this in this. It's a.
But should we keep track of that? I'm just thinking because, or same thing with fentanyl deaths. Should we be tracking that? I mean, in our city, or do we do?
We do.
We do?
Yeah, we do. I just, for purposes of the report, I'm reporting the crime. I I could always get those numbers.
Okay. Yeah, because I think it's important because I know we have had a lot of suicides and I know fentanyl it surpassed cocaine, I guess, in deaths and other drugs, heroin, and so just the impact in our community would be good to know, or the region, if you could get something so that we have some understanding of the impacts in our community. The other thing I noticed, homicides, like you mentioned, they're up, but I know a lot of the homicides happen along the river. So that's a reflection of, because I know that's a big high homicide, among homeless killing each other. I hear that. I think that's part of it.
Before I forget, with regards to fentanyl fentanyl-related deaths, the numbers are tracked through the medical examiner's office. I've spoken to a doctor there, and those statistics are always tracked.
Okay.
So we can get those if we need them.
And then the other surprise, I noticed that our officers a lot of times stop people with guns and all of that. And you said it's a low-level crime, carrying a gun? I'm just curious about that. Why would it be a low-level?
It's a misdemeanor, and it's just, unless you're using it in the commission of a felony, and that's why that question is on the list of questions for the district attorney that we're going to meet with in April, is I've asked them for some preliminary numbers on filings for just simple possession of a handgun, but again, it's not, if you have a gun problem, if you have a gun violence problem, I think one of the avenues to remedy is to remove the gun, right? And severe penalties for carrying a gun. I think we need to get back to those penalties and pay attention to the root cause of some of these crimes.
And then the last, I just want to compliment the department for the police community involvement. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, Darren, just to add, to all the number of calls that you guys are getting and the number of services that you guys are providing beyond just policing our community. On a daily basis for a shift, can you give us a number of officers that are on each shift on average?
Yeah, it varies. So during the normal work schedule, like a day shift, Monday through Thursday, we have a patrol. Every patrol team will have at least 6 officers and a sergeant. Right. But some will be supplemented with like the traffic unit, and then the crime impact team will come in on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So you'll have overlap. So on the weekends is where you have most of the personnel. I will say this though, I think the hiring issue is starting to be very strainful and stressful on the staffing. We probably have, with the resignation of 3 officers in the last 3 weeks, we're probably right around 13 vacancies. That's not including the additional people. We have 4 officers in training. We have 4 officers have yet to go to the academy. We're going to hire some more. So long-term IOD, we're really down over 20 bodies.
Right.
Never had that before. So we're doing the police officers and our professional staff are doing the very best job they can possibly do, holding it down. So the 5.6%, I can live with that, considering what our staffing levels are. So what we do is, in fact, we meet with the POA every once in a while to make sure that the staffing levels are adjusted accordingly. We meet very frequently about the staffing. So if there's a void during a certain peak hour of a particular day, then we'll get with the associations and we'll shift personnel to make sure that those issues are covered.
Great. Yeah, I'm just amazed by the amount of work that is done by our officers. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's around 7 square miles or
7.5.
7.5 square miles of space. We have almost 100,000 residents. I was listening to a conference with police chiefs, and they say that on average you should have 1 officer for every 1,000 residents. So that's the number, close to 100 officers, and it's getting, we're nowhere near there. And
the national average is roughly 2 to 2.5 officers per 1,000 residents.
Okay.
We're running at about 0.6, 0.7 right now.
Wow.
So you have less than 1 police officer per every 1,000.
Right.
And that's why I think it's important that, we and the command staff pay attention to, the wear and tear on police officers and make sure that we're giving them the support they need, because it's a lot of work.
Right.
And it's very stressful. And some of the incidents that they're responding to are significant in nature. I mean, they're very impactful personally. So we make sure that our wellness program is up to par and that we're immediately addressing some of these incidents.
Right.
We had a deployment of our mental health team within the last 2 weeks. When officers are going out there on critical incidents, we want to make sure that they're debriefed, and the officers and the employees shouldn't be coming to us. We should be going to them and just making sure they're okay. So
right.
It's a lot of work, and so much credit goes to what they decided to do in this calling with their job. So they're doing a great job.
Well, I really appreciate that we're being considerate of the mental health of our officers. You know, last year was a really bad year for officer suicides, and I just would hate to have any of our officers have to, you know, deal with any of that. So whatever we can do to always ensure that our officers are safe, first off, and then also that they're mentally healthy and that they have what they need for that. We always have to make that a priority for us. And then just to finish off, you know, when you see something, say something. You know, I'm a big advocate for that. You know, we're trying to make our areas safer. We need to be understanding that we are a big space and we are a big area, but we will. You know, our officers do the best they can to be there for us when they can. I've had you know, personal incidences where I've had, you know, intruders break into my home, and I held them down for about 10 minutes until officers showed up. And you know, beyond just the arrest of the person who did it, the time that the officers took to be there with my kids, to make them feel that, you know, they were safe, to, you know, diffuse them as well, was something that forever I will ever be grateful, you know, for our officers for doing that. And to this day, when my daughters see that officer, they run up to him and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And they, you know, because they remember the impact that that he made to them. So always appreciative, and thank you for this report.
Councilwoman
Thank you.
Avalos?
And I will echo some of the sentiments from Councilmember Barron. I think you and I have had those honest conversations in regards to mental health. Now, I know our officers go through the rigors of a psychological assessment prior to being employed. But we're human beings, and we all come with certain baggages, things that have happened in our childhood that sometimes when we're out there, it will trigger that PTSD. So I greatly appreciate, you know, coming on council and having that conversation with you to making sure that they have that continuous form of care. Because sitting down and talking to someone and debriefing is not therapy. It just isn't. It's getting the logistics down, making sure that they have that support from a trained professional clinician, I think is critical, because not only do we assist the officer in overcoming that PTSD, but make them a better officer and reduce our burnout.
Yeah, and just to that point, we are currently the beneficiaries of a state grant specifically for the wellness program, and we've scheduled Dr. Gina Gallivan to come and do briefing trainings for all employees, not just police officers. We're talking about the dispatchers and civilian staff as well. That starts this month. So she's going to come down. We have a 2 or 3 hour block of training specifically designed for Southgate Police Department personnel on that. So that's, you know, that's how serious we take the wellness, is we're bringing the clinicians to the station.
And I do appreciate that, and I think that's why as council, we allocated so much funding for mental health, because it's not just for the officers, but it's for the community as a whole. Just looking at the amount of disputes within the internal family, with neighbors, with landlords, if we got rid of those phone calls, I think our community would be a lot better for it.
Definitely.
Would you agree?
I agree.
Definitely want to give a shout out to all of our police officers, because I know we do ask a lot of them while they're out. And sometimes I know the community will say, well, look, there's 5 officers and they're just talking. That's what the picture that we see, but we really don't know or are privy to any of those conversations of how they're getting that training, as well as really getting the logistics as to what really happened to be able to then put it into a report. It takes a lot of skills. It's not just being out there and enforcing the law. It's actually coming back in and doing a lot of that administrative work that sometimes you don't get trained
Right.
when you go through the academy, because it's all physical and psychological. There was one other thing I was going to mention, but it's leaving my train of thought right now. Suicides. I would agree with Councilmember Rios. I know the numbers are not here. But given the fact that when you are touched by a suicide, it doesn't simply go away. You know, the family continues to hurt for many, many years thereafter. So I would like to see something so that it gives us a clear understanding of where our community is in their pain. Because sometimes when somebody takes their life, it's because they're so hopeless that they don't see the light. So, again, I'm not putting this on our police department, but I know you guys do a really good job in when you go out there of doing those assessments. And I think having DCFS on board is going to be a good call. And I know we do have DMH on board with our department that does go out there sometimes with the 5150s. And I know that it takes a lot of work to do that paperwork.
Yes.
So I commend all the officers that deal with that on a day in, day out, because it does take a psychological and emotional toll on them to then ask, I wonder what happened to so-and-so, and I hope that they're okay. So all we can really do is just be as supportive as we possibly can with our community, and I appreciate our police department. Though I know there's complaints about the response time, but I would invite our community to go on a ride-along for them to get a clear picture of how these calls come in and understand, like, so where do you go first? How do you evaluate to be able to make those life and death calls? Which places do you go first? I think it begins with education so that they understand we are all a priority, but sometimes we need to prioritize. Thank you, Chief.
Vice Mayor.
Thank thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, Chief, thank you for this report, and I'm not going to repeat some of the questions that my colleagues already asked. I just want to thank you for everything that our police department does, and you as the head. I mean, you guys have been doing such an amazing job. I think that you guys go over and above what the work should be done. So I want to thank you for that, and we see that firsthand. There's so many programs, for families here in our community, and also I think the presentations that you guys do at the schools are crucial. I think that it's important, and I've been in several presentations, gangs, fentanyl, and I think that we should continue doing those presentations and, continue working with the schools. I think the School Safety Collaborative meeting that we held every month, and we'll be having our next one soon, encourage those principals to, take advantage of the resources that we have. And I know that we do have those. We do ask them to, call upon our police department to do those presentations, because I think, the parents appreciate when they learn something new, and they just hear about it, but they don't know exactly, what it looks like or what symptoms or yes, the signs. So I think that's really important. So on the domestic violence program, amazing job that Laura's doing. It's just, again, she goes over and above what her title is. So please relate, the thanks like from all council members, the great job that our department is doing. Statistics say one thing, but, sometimes we hope that when it comes down to informing the community, I hope they do justice, to our department. Because how are we as council members know when an incident is going to happen? We wish we had the little ball that was said, this is going to happen here, let's go take care of it. We just can't do that. The only thing that we can do is work with all of you and continue working and giving you the resources that are needed to try to prevent. Because basically that's the only thing that we can do is try to prevent. And just give you the resources. But again, thank you. Thank you to our newest captain. And to all our department, kudos to all of you. Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
did not get the crystal ball that we got? I'm sorry.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, if, out of respect for the questions that were asked, if I could just get a couple minutes just to touch on what was asked.
But can I go through, because I have some
Okay.
questions too. So you have 7 fatal traffic collisions, and then you have 9 homicides. And my understanding is that vehicular homicide or Watson murder is a case where someone is driving under the influence and results in a fatality. So are any of the accidents that we've had, fatal accidents, as a result of a DUI?
So a Watson vehicular manslaughter applies when a individual gets involved in a fatal traffic collision and there was a prior DUI. And the Watkins rule comes into play at the prior conviction when an admonition is read. It's called a Watkins admonition. And the Watkins admonition basically says that if you commit another alcohol-related incident where there's an injury or death, you could be charged with, X, Y, and Z. I do know that the most recent one we had on Imperial and Wright Road was a Watson murder. It was a Watson arrest because the female had 2 prior convictions. So it was her third DUI-related accidents, or third DUI arrest, but the final one was a result of a fatality, so the Watkins rules applies. The other ones, I don't specifically remember if there were priors, but I do know that one, and I believe it was a San Miguel and Tweedy, where a female was charged. There was alcohol on board. She may not have had a prior conviction, but still, it doesn't, I think that just helps with the type of charge that's filed against an individual.
So where would you list that here? Under fatal traffic collisions or under the homicides?
The homicides, at the time of the reporting, so in 2023, one of them was an arrest already where the fatal traffic collision was attributed in the homicide numbers. However, this year, we had a recent arrest from a case that happened last year. So if you really look at the numbers, that number from last year would be an additional 1.
Okay.
But they will apply during the reporting period. Sometimes these cases take a long time. I do know that we're working on a fatality right now where we're trying to get a device to read the computer of a vehicle, but that device can only be purchased in France. So we're working. Yeah, it's a foreign vehicle, and there's no American product that can read that. So we're working with finance right now to get that device to bring over here. We have to purchase it. It's expensive, but we have to use it to input into this vehicle to determine speed at the time of impact. That one will be attributed as a homicide.
Yeah. And I appreciate the entire report. And I got to tell you, this city council takes, crime very seriously. And I think you feel that because we're supporting a lot of the things that you're doing, the expenses that we make in getting all kinds of new, equipment and other activities that you do. That being said, the fact that we have had many issues, and it's not just us. A lot of communities did exactly what we did, which we took a vote of no confidence on our current district attorney because we feel that the policies that he put in place are kind of opening the door for an escalation of crime. And it doesn't do any good to have laws that are passed by elected officials. It doesn't do any good to have law enforcement doing their job and arresting people only to have cases not accepted or kicked back or lowered from the level of crime. And so I just wanted to point that out because you guys are doing a fantastic job. We're doing what we can to give you all the resources you need to make our community safe, which includes a lot of activities that would prevent education, neighborhood watch, all the things that this council is supporting is intended to improve the safety of our community. That's our number one priority, public safety. That's your priority, and I commend you for what you're doing. But again, the policies that exist, if they are not being enforced at the level of prosecution, it is very shameful. And it's not just here, it's hurting communities across LA County. But again, thank you. And I apologize for interrupting you, but I did have some comments to make. Thank you.
Okay, just to address a couple of the issues that were brought up by Mario Dominguez and Thomas Buckley. The fentanyl, where is it produced? I don't know exactly where it's produced, but I have a suspicion it's produced south of the border because that's where most of the seizures are coming through, either through El Paso or San Isidro. But it's getting smuggled in through trucks, and you hear about seizures quite frequently. So I'm fairly certain that the fentanyl is produced south of the border. With respect to rejected cases, so when we submit a case to the district attorney's office, they'll evaluate the merits of the case, and we'll get rejects based on Directive 2007. So for example, if we arrest somebody for possession of narcotics or being under the influence, we submit that case. It's simply rejected because the policy of the DA is to not prosecute those cases. I've always told the officers that despite the district attorney's directives to not charge certain crimes and decriminalize certain crimes, that's not going to preclude us from still going out there and arresting people. That's our job. It's not our job to say we're not going to go out and enforce drug-related crimes because the DA is not going to charge them. No, our job is to put them in the jail and then let the other part of the criminal justice system deal with it. So that's what the rejected cases are. Occasionally we'll get temporary rejects because the district attorney wants an additional interview or they want us to see if there's additional video and it's temporarily rejected. We bring it back at a later time and then they'll file the case. But that's what the rejected explanation is. Station tours, remember the biggest part of our community involvement is getting kids to understand the relationship that they should have with law enforcement. And those are saved exclusively for the schools. Sean Paulos does a great job of coordinating that. If the kids at the school, the principal will call and say, I got 3 classes that want to do a station tour, and we'll come give them the station tour. That's what that is. The fentanyl percentages, that's a very complicated issue. For Thomas, I know that's a question. There's not a percentage that you can say are found in fentanyl. It's like cooking a batch of chocolate chip cookies. You put some binders in there and then you put some fentanyl in there. Well, fentanyl doesn't mix proportionately to other binders. So that's why 1 microgram of fentanyl can actually kill you. It's very highly addictive, and there's no way to determine that. In fact, that was a question that I had asked the sheriff's department, is do they do qualitative analysis to figure out the percentages, and they don't do that. The federal government does that. DEA has a lab in San Diego, and if they're doing a particular case where they're trying an individual on murder for selling fentanyl and somebody dies, and they have product, they can take that and do a quantitative analysis, but there's no quantitative analysis that the sheriff's department does. And then finally, to Thomas Buckley's point about homicides, we do a lot of things in the community. Our community involvement is important because we want to connect with them differently, but crime prevention and the safety of our community is our number 1 priority. It's always been our priority. The sanctity of life is at the top of our list. And unfortunately, if I had an answer to solve crime ahead of time, then I would sell that to everyone in this world because I'd have the problem solved. There's a saying that if it's predictable, it's preventable. Not in all cases. Sometimes these incidents in homicides are, in the heat of passion. An argument turns into something that escalates. And you're right. I know, Al, you had mentioned a few things about the riverbed violence. That's why my emphasis is going to be in the riverbed. is a lot of those people that are committing crimes, there's gangs and drugs that run that riverbed. And people that are involved in that world oftentimes get caught up and get murdered. It's the fortunate part of, you know, our analysis is that we don't have a lot of random shootings where innocent people are getting killed. We just don't. There's always some sort of nexus between the victim and the suspect. There is one case from last year that is just baffling all of us, and at some point in time, I'm going to come to council and reopen that and ask to use some asset forfeiture money as a reward. That one is just, we have no leads, no clues, and no information. So expect me to come down and discuss that with you in the next month or so to kind of trigger some of those conversations with maybe some of that's awesome. But for the most part, I wish we could prevent homicides because everyone in the county would probably be lined up looking for that same answer. But with that, I'll end. I know it was kind of long and tedious, but we'll continue to work and impact crime.
So I'll make a motion to receive and file. We have a second. All the roll call.
Seconded?
Vice Mayor.
Roll call. Councilmember Avalos?
Yes.
Councilmember Barron?
Yes.
Councilmember Rios?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davila?
Yes.
Mayor Hurtado?
Yes. Okay, next item.
Item number 10, the city council will consider approving the warrants and cancellations for February 27th, 2024. The grand total is $3,788,040.38.
Just for the record, it's item 9,
Sorry.
right?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll go ahead and open it up to any member in the Zoom audience. If you have any questions regarding the warrant registry for this meeting, please raise your
We
hand.
have Mr. Thomas Buckley.
Mr. Buckley?
Hi, this is Thomas Buckley. Mr. Salinas, if you'll permit me to preface, I'll be through with it quickly. Today, the community was surprised to learn that our tax dollars are being used to fund an expenditure of over $10,000. I believe it's in the range of $14,000, which involves our city treasurer. Even though the public never had the opportunity to weigh in on this, I'm not particularly happy about that. But how it's relevant to this item. What will this line item be described as? The aforementioned. And is it even present? Is it present within the documentation that we have presented before us today? I'm surprised that council approved it. And so if it's a one-time expenditure, we should be finding this within list of expenditures. So are we going to be surprised again to learn that it's already in here? I don't know. But it's just interesting how somebody, I'm assuming it's the city manager, there's a limit as to how much he can spend on his own recognizance or his own beliefs. I don't know how it was done. I don't like it, considering that we've gone through other opportunities listed in these items like this. Printed on page 26, you'll find that there's a $40 expenditure. Again, that's page 26, $40, 40. I'm presuming that's every month. And that's for Zoom. Zoom is not about viewership. It's about accessibility, and that's what I stated earlier today. It's the most important word I stated about it. Accessibility is far more important than viewership because Zoom gives us both, and that's why I think it's with its quirks, because of what it does. It provides us with both, but mainly accessibility. Zoom encourages participation, council. You have virtual empty chambers in the audience unless you're passively campaigning for a group of people, or unless a lot of residents are upset with you guys again. But for $40 a month, you make these proceeds accessible to we the people. You promote civics, ideologies, and the culture of our city to the public. It's about giving opportunity to those who have 2 to 3 jobs, those who have to work and yet want to be civically active, I think this is the most effective use of our tax dollars that you could ever spend. Our community is worth it, council. Thank you.
Next speaker.
We have Mr. Mario Dominguez.
Mr. Salinas, Councilmember Barone, if you just give me some leeway here, I'll be brief. I just want to say, if this is indeed the final,
Give him back his time.
Yes.
thank you very much. It's been a joy, and I wish you all well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Mr. Dominguez, we cut out. If you could give us the honor of just repeating your comments so that we make sure we have them.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. Salinas. Thank you. I just want to say, if this is indeed the last and the final Zoom or city council meetings, I just want to say thank you for doing this. It's been a pleasure. It's been a hell of a run, and I wish the council and all of you all the best. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
We have no other.
And seeing no one here as well, I'm going to close the audience portion. Did you want to address first? No, you could. Okay, Mr. City.
In response to the question about the expenditures, the expenditure for the new equipment has not been purchased yet. As I outlined, it was a decision I'm making. We have a temporary setup to bridge us for the next few weeks while we have a quote. The quote's been received, the action will happen. We have a temporary iPhone on a stand with some wiring to showcase the filming today that we already had in stock, and then the actual equipment will come and it will show up in the warrant register at a later date. I have a $50,000 authorization as a city manager to expend funds that are within our budget, and I do have a budget within the city manager's office for this. The Zoom cost, to confirm, there are some small $40 charges, I believe, for certain items, but the subscription annually for the professional Zoom subscription that we need for the current support of the council and the committees is $7,000 a year. So that's just trying to clarify some of the comments, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And if we can add a little bit of clarity, I think there was a question that was made regarding that the item may have benefited the city treasurer in any way. Can we clarify that?
Oh, I may not have heard that, but yeah, there's no connection to any of the purchases, any of the use of equipment, or any of the expenditures in any way are related to our treasurer. I think the compliments made his way were simply on him bringing his own equipment at his own cost as a trial period of the concept, which helped showcase the ability for us to use some of those ideas and purchase our own equipment, and there is no financial connection with the treasurer.
That's correct.
Thank you. What are the wishes of the council?
Second.
Aye.
No.
Councilmember Avalos?
Yes.
Councilmember Barron?
Yes.
Councilmember Rios?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davila? Yes. Mayor Hurtado?
Yes. Okay, we are adjourned.
Motion to
Thank you
adjourn.
very much, everybody.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for staying.
Good night. Thank you, Glenn.